Right. Oh, I don't know with my camera. I don't know why I whisper at the beginning of these. Here, talking into my mic. Okay, does look like it's working. We'll start the clock. Start. 5 minutes to finish getting my shit together. I try not to swear in the first couple minutes of the stream, but that's shit out the window now. Streaming. Okay, a lot of people here already. Goodness, there are a lot of. Okay, let's get the phone. Day 11. That was yesterday. We're on day 12. Holy. Right, more than halfway through live. Steady testimony continues. Not. I must be live. There's people talking. Things seem fine and dandy. Are they? Are they though? Okay, that seems fine and dandy. This seems sort of fine and dandy. One. Okay, that seems fine. That'll work. Things together. Why can't I find my stream? Two views 18 hours ago? What the hell is that? No, this is happening. Okay. Oh. All right. Things are out of sorts. We will turn on you. Okay, I'm getting back in sorts. I've got 2 minutes and 56 seconds to get into sorts. I've got my coffee here. It is a little tough coming off the 12-hour shift and doing the turnaround and then just jumping into a podcast. So fortunately, I only have 2 more of these occasions on my schedule. I can go through. I did a rough schedule for the rest of the marathon. And from what I can tell, we will be done this on Saturday, May 2nd, verdict and sentencing. Where are we? April 20th, that's today. We're going to do half of the video because it's how long is the video for today? 3 hours, 8 minutes. So we'll watch about an hour and a half, maybe a little bit more, and then we'll start tomorrow at exactly an hour and a half. So whatever extra we do, we'll rewatch the first 10 minutes or so and make that work. Yeah. Defense. Oh my God. Betty is on the stand for a long time. I think she's got 2 or 3 more of our days where she'll be on the stand. And then we've got some psychologists hitting the stand. And then the state rebuttal case, which looks really good. Yeah, pretty interesting. Anyway, we'll be doing this every day from now until May 2nd to get the... Oh, yeah, I'm wearing my... Yeah. I took a picture of myself. I sent it to AI. I said, make a cartoon character out of this character. And it looked exactly like me without even... I didn't even recognize it was a cartoon. I thought it was photorealistic. But yes, it's a real shirt. And we're chatting with Dandy. If any of you have husbands that know the tune for that song, they may be watching Cooking with Kaya. And Cooking with Kaya is, I think it's a popular Instagram cooking video with a girl that's, we'll just say, was blessed at birth with a lovely figure. And a lot of husbands happen to know the name because it comes on their feed. And they're like, I'll watch Cooking with Kaya for 30 seconds. And, you know, they're finishing it when their wives are saying, cooking with. They say Kaya, they get a smack. That's a whole nother realm of video. Oh, thank you, Kelia. I'm glad you appreciate it. It's kind of my first opportunity to do a little regulating, but I grew up with Warren G and Nate Dogg, so I know how to regulate and know how to keep it smooth. Don't need to get all all out of sorts just because you got to regulate. You know, sometimes regulators need regulating, and regulators got to do what they got to do. So I did a little regulating, and I think everyone is the better for it. I do like the idea of having a community that doesn't necessarily agree, but does, you know, respect each other. And it's going to be a learning curve. Not everyone's, you know, if you're coming in off of the internet, you're used to a little bit of tension, a little bit of fight for my territory, for my ideas. So just got to let people know you don't got to fight here. This is a dandy room. We're all friends. We're all getting along, enjoying each other's company. All right, mount up. Indeed, Kelia. Okay, so the time remaining says 0, so I've bullshitted for long enough. Let's just get right into Betty. I will roll myself a little 420 celebratory medical cigarette, and we will enjoy Betty's cross-examination. A couple things to know for today is the footage from even the first hour and a half is split over 2 different days, maybe even 3. Because the prosecutor gets sick. Prosecutor Wells, who actually became Judge Wells. I'll give you more information about that later. But she was a San Diego district judge until 2018. This was her highest profile district attorney work before getting that promotion. So some interesting facts about Prosecutor Wells there. But let's get started with Betty's testimony. Make sure I'm not missing any of the beginning here. Does look like I'm missing a touch at the beginning. Back. Up there?
My house, car, social.
No, further. Yeah, that's it. That's where they're
August
correcting the screen.
Whether or not it was clear that you had no intention to take custody of the children.
It was after the bifurcation. Dan had gotten sole custody, no visitation. I couldn't just go over there and take them.
But you didn't want them either. Did you write in your diary, for example, when I'm assured of financial security?
So the prosecutor, just as we left off yesterday, she was testifying quite a bit in her questioning of Betty, and it looks like she's starting off this video with the same thing. You said blah, 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 didn't you? It's an interesting way of going about it, but the judge, he's not moving a muscle. This is a freeze frame, but you'll see when we unpause it, he's not going to move.
My house, car, social standing. I will begin to discuss custody. For now, I am too enraged by your actions to be around the children or to accept any responsibility for them.
That's exactly right. That's
Okay.
right.
So
I was
you didn't
very upset, and I had no security, as I've explained earlier, about.
And just a shout out to Kelia. In addition to fighting for your right for free expression, another important right to fight for is your right to party. You gotta fight for your right to party.
Anything, and I wanted to get the security.
Leading is fine, but there's a few times, and maybe we'll see. But I think, Mandy, what I'm calling out is there's a few times where the prosecutor just asserts facts and says, "But XYZ," or "No, you didn't," which feels a little off. But
Up first as a package deal with the children, because I was just too nervous to take on the children without anything. I couldn't. I couldn't.
In August of 1986, you were living in Calle de Cielo. You've been living there for 16 months.
Calle
correct?
de Cielo.
Yes.
You also had 3 cars at the time, correct?
Maybe.
And you indicated that you had to be assured of your social standing before you would begin to discuss custody. How was it that you were going to be assured of your social standing?
Your Honor, objection. If she's reading, I'd like to know which volume of the diary.
It's in volume 1, August of 86.
You want to see the pages, Joe? Show them page.
How was it that you were going to be assured of your social standing before you would discuss custody of the children?
Another
I'm
one
glad
to
that you
say.
mentioned that social standing was not what I meant. What I
I'm
meant
on
was identity. You know, I didn't know if I wasn't yet Mr. Broderick's ex-wife. I didn't know who I was in the world. I didn't know where I stood. I didn't know his name was still on the house, so I wasn't secure that that was my house. I had
Okay,
no
excuse me.
definition.
You did say social standing.
I
You didn't
said
say
social
identity.
standing. I meant identity.
That she should be allowed, when there's a question to, when they're asked, what did you mean, she should be allowed to explain what you meant.
Objection sustained. Let her finish her answer, Mrs. Wells, and let her, you can ask another question.
Did you finish the answer?
No, it's a pretty complicated answer. I didn't know who I was. I had lost my social friends through Dan and the legal system.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm listening.
Bless you.
I had a total lack of identity, and the financial.
Sorry, I'm going to pause here quickly because there was some chat about journals, and basically this is why I don't keep a journal, and I get it because I have to interrupt myself. LZB sent out 5 true crime gift memberships for Dandy True Crime. Tiramisu, Nikki 704, One Gruntled Woman, True Crime Type of Mind, and Mimi Happy. 1968, you've all received gift memberships thanks to LZB. That's a great way to get started on an Elizabeth Broderick feed. Is a lovely gift from LZB, so very, very nice. I can't remember what I was saying. Oh, no, I was saying something. No, I can't remember what I was saying. Journals. Yeah, journals can be, they can get you in trouble. I do like that this journal happens to be dated and much more of a journal than other journals that we've seen in the more recent years of criminals. The reason journals kind of stopped me is I also used to keep a journal. I haven't read it in, well, God, probably, I haven't opened it in 20 years. Probably haven't really read it in 25. Anyway, I was involved in, I don't know, tangentially to true crime. One of my friends from high school was murdered in a, almost a drive-by shooting. It was a drive-by argument to people, like a neighboring car, but it was started from a previous incident. Anyway, I may at some point, maybe, as a 1-year anniversary, or I don't know, if I'm feeling like it's the sort of trauma download that I'm ready for, I may go back into my teenage journals and read through my just getting through that. I think it might be an interesting story. I think the time may have passed where it's not so hurtful and kind of interesting to examine the emotions that come with suffering that kind of a loss at 18 and really trying to make sense of life and death and all of that. So, yeah, there's that for the future. Let's get back to Betty.
Settlement to me would have been day one of building a new Betty Broderick, but I didn't know how to build a new Betty Broderick until I got the definition of who I was and where I was going to live and how I was going to work, and that's what I meant by that. It wasn't social stand.
It was your choice to wait and make sure about your claims of financial security before you took custody of the children.
At
Was your
several
choice.
junctures, I said I wouldn't take the children. Never was I, in fact, offered the children. Never.
You never made a request for the children. You specifically did not make a request for the children. For example, when you were represented by Mr. Hargraves in 1986, did you?
Mr. Hargreaves, as we've described, was on the job for one court appearance. We never got to discussing the kids.
And that was a court appearance where you could go in and you could request custody of the kids.
We'll rewind Betty a little bit because this is kind of serious. I just brought up and don't want to just move past it. But yeah, he was a good friend in high school and kind of, at that stage of life where you think your high school friends are going to be, your friends for the rest of your life. Some of the same guys that I hung out with him are still, friends and associates, but, at best we see each other, every couple of years or less. I've moved quite a bit outside the city too, so I'm no longer in the main circles, but yeah, it was sort of life, I wouldn't say life changing, but life affecting for sure. It just made you realize, like, that sort of that hubris that you have as a teenager, that the world will live forever and there's always another tomorrow, and you just become an adult like that. So and then using that perspective for this, think of the children in this case, and how they thought they were just had normal lives with parents that argued, like, don't everyone's parents argue? And then all of a sudden one day they're in the middle of, they've lost their dad. Their mom is in jail. The stepmom is dead, and their lives are forever affected.
In fact, he talked to you about the fact.
We'll go back a little bit here and let Smug Betty wipe these tears and put a smile on my face.
I didn't know who I was in the world. I didn't know where I stood. I didn't know his name was still on the house, so I wasn't secure that that was my house. I had
Okay,
no
excuse me.
definition.
You did say social standing.
I
You didn't
said
say
social
identity.
standing. I meant identity.
That she should be allowed, when there's a question when you're asked, what did you mean, she should be allowed to explain what she meant.
Objection sustained. Let her finish her answer, Mrs. Wells, and you can ask another question.
Did you finish the answer?
No, it's a pretty complicated answer. I didn't know who I was. I had lost my social friends through Dan and the legal system.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm listening.
No, not innocent.
I
Um,
had a total
oh.
lack of identity, and this financial settlement to me would have been
No, the circumstances wasn't an innocent bystander. They'd gotten into an argument with these people at a party, and I guess came across each other at a red light, within an hour of the original incident, and one of the people, one of the people in the other car decided to escalate things from a fight, and that happened.
day one of building a new Betty Broderick.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I didn't
no.
know how.
So, okay. See, this is a tough thing to get into. They did, let's see, how much I'm going to get into. So, rest in peace, Aaron Amnick. He was my friend. Not my best friend. He was just a friend, but he was, in the close circle of friends. And he was at a party and with a guy that, bit of a tough guy, causes problems. They got into an argument with a guy named Chris Weldon, who I'd never heard of before. And I'll say his full name because he's no longer with us either. Chris was on a leave from jail, I think from young offenders. I can't remember now. Probably it was from in youth detention center, and fired at the car, and they was trying to get the guy that was driving that ducked, and my friend that was in the passenger seat got killed. And then it started this whole thing where all of a sudden we're trying to figure out who the guy is, and there was like, say 40 or 50 of us all, drinking and talking about who this kid could be. And somebody got a hold of an address where he was, and the next thing you know, another friend of mine gets called in to drive these two guys to a party that the guy's at, or party or house, whatever. And he got drug outside. I guess he even had the gun on him, and a third friend of mine shot him, took the gun away from him, shot him. And so he's in jail. Chris is dead. Aaron's dead. My other friend that drove him had to go through a lot of stuff because he was an accessory, and then people were saying he was saying too much, and he's just a kid that drove these guys. So anyway, it affected me. And then it was graduating high school and going into journalism, and then kind of seeing how the newspapers churn out the stories, and it's just another headline, and kind of changed how I thought about journalism. And 30 years go by, and here I am talking about it. Didn't expect that.
To build a new Betty Broderick until I got the definition of who I was and where I was going to live and how I was going to work. And that's what I meant by that. It wasn't social stand.
It was your choice to wait and make sure.
We'll talk about it in more detail in a future time. I do appreciate you guys being with me for that story, and I think I will feel better talking about it in the future. Maybe we'll do this as one of the first Friday night rambles after the marathon is done.
About your claims of financial security before you took custody of the children.
At
Was your-
several junctures,
Hey, Bernice.
I
Welcome
said
back.
I wouldn't take the children. Never was I, in fact, offered the children. Never.
You never made a request for the children. You specifically did not make a request for the children. For example, when you were represented by Mr. Hargraves in 1986, did you?
Mr. Hargreaves, as we've described, was on the job for one court appearance. We never got to discussing the kids.
And that was a court appearance where you could go in and you could request custody of the kids. In fact, he talked to you about the fact that if you took custody of the kids, you'd even get more money. But you didn't even want to do that.
No, that's not correct. We
That's
went
not
in on an emergency support order because of being denied any money in November of '86 and December of '86. Dan had cut it off entirely. There's a legal word for what it was, how he had an emergency hearing.
Just going to say a quick hello to everybody. I'm using the Top Fans leaderboard to see the names, so if you've opted out of the leaderboard, just say something in the chat real quick and I'll see your name as well. But thank you to Bedtime Lullabies, Christine Garcia, Kelia, Bella's Mom, Ada B, Nicole C, Beth of a Salesman, Elsie B, Super Kelly G, another one to say, YouTube TV 2RX, Bernice, Dabs for Dummies, and Kitten Pusher, Bella's Mom, 13 Mandy, Kelia, another one to say. I don't know. I'm starting to repeat now, but thank you to everyone who's here, and let's start having fun on this stream now.
Covered no other subjects about community property or children or visitation, not even mentioned. That was strictly emergency support here.
And it was your choice to have Mr. Hargraves then go in for this emergency support as opposed to going in and also asking for custody. There was nothing that prevented him from doing that.
Not as opposed to.
Sustained.
You never made a request of Mr. Hargraves to make a motion for custody, correct?
Mr. Hargreaves wasn't on the job long enough. He did the emergency
That's-
support
excuse me.
hearing, and he was fired.
Yes or no? Did you ever make a request of Mr. Hargraves for custody of the children?
No.
And in fact, when you went up and hired Mr. Glucksman in Los Angeles, he went ahead and he wrote up a whole motion for custody of the children and filed it, and you were angry about that. You complained about it with Mr. Hargraves, that you had no intention of seeking custody of the kids, and you were angry that Mr. Glucksman had done that.
No, what happened with that was Mr. Glucksman was on the job again for a little short period of time, and he started the works to get the whole divorce done. He was going to start discovery. He listed depositions to be taken, and we were going to go to court for the kids and things. And then Tricia Smith came along, and all the dates that Mr. Glucksman put on were vacated. And then Tricia Smith started doing
Thanks,
things
Luther.
her way. And
Thanks, Luther
May I-
Rose.
Simply ask you whether or not you complained to Mr. Hargraves about the fact that Mr. Glucksman
No,
had filed a motion for custody without your permission?
no,
Never did
that's
that?
not true.
That's a good story. Thank you, Nicole.
Well, moving into 1987, with respect to custody of the
Nicole's dreams are in YouTube Premium. She's got HMO helping get cars out of snowbanks. Sofa Paul selling nice houses. Me, Danielle, and Suma are TBA. Let us know. Let me know what we do.
children, you had the meetings in March with Dr. Roth. And it was very clear at that time, again, that you did not want custody of the children when you had your meetings with Dr. Roth.
I was a total wreck by the time I met Dr. Roth, and I could not take the children emotionally at all until I got a settlement. I was frantic. I'd been thrown in jail. I'd gone through all this stuff. He'd cut off all the money. I'd gone through the Glucksman, Hargreaves, Tricia Smith thing. I had liens on my house. I'd given away my necklace, and I was absolutely when I met Ruth Roth. Sorry, how do you transcribe that? Sorry.
Thank you, Betty.
When you
She's
met
pretty
Ruth
pleased
Roth,
with
it
herself.
was made clear to you that the issue was custody of the children.
Dr. G would point out that when we expose our neck, it's because we're feeling strong and almost invulnerable. Like you're not afraid to bare that weak part of you. I'm going to go back just a little bit to watch Betty's self-satisfaction at delivering this soliloquy.
Thing. I had liens on my house. I'd given away my necklace, and I was absolutely when I met Ruth Roth. Sorry, how do you transcribe that? Sorry.
Just sits in it. She's just
When
she was like even peeking down to see how got translated. You know, it's a little snippet. I know she's a murderer, but at the same time, I could see how she'd be like, you know, the fun person at a party. Like she's, you know, if you're sitting at a wedding table, she'd be a riot to be paired up next to.
You met Ruth Roth. It was made clear to you that the issue was custody of the children, and to do something to settle that for the children, and that you had the option of taking the
Oh,
children.
sorry,
at that
I should have
point.
muted.
And you said no. You said there was no way you would be the single mother of 4 children. Whether you have your reasons for it or not, isn't it true that you made the choice at that time not to take the children?
Your Honor,
That is
the
misstated.
question is compound.
Overruled, answer that.
Did you indicate to Dr. Roth that there was no way you were going to be the single mother of 4 children?
Dr. Roth never offered me the children. She was not in a position to say, here are your kids, Betty, go home now.
Did you
It was
make
a
a statement
discussion.
to Dr. Roth that you were not going to be the single mother of 4 children? That Dan Broderick would die first?
I don't remember making that exact statement. I was an absolute basket case. I was terrified. I was horrified. I was scared. I was upset. The whole Dr. Ruth Roth little segment was a disaster. Every part of it was a disaster.
And, well, let's move on to December of 87. That was in March of 87. In December of 87, again, Dan Broderick had made an offer, tried to make an offer to you to take the children, and again, you refused in December of 1987.
Could you just get a little bit more specific, please?
And did you write in your diary in December of 1987, Dan has new tact of giving me kids. Trouble is, my house does not fit them, and I have no money to support them.
If that's what I wrote in the diary, that's what I wrote in the diary. But I don't remember that particular Christmas or why, or I'm not with you yet on what was going on at that time.
You could just take a look at this diary sheet and just identify if that's your handwriting.
Yes, it's a sheet of the diary. If I could see the rest of the diary, the sheets before, I would know how we got there.
Rule of completeness, Your Honor. If you're entering one page of the diary, I demand that the entire diary be read to the court.
But you did say in December of 1987 that Dan was trying to give you the kids. But the trouble was your house did not fit them and you had no money to support them. You made that statement.
If that's what that says, yes.
We're-
But it's
we're-
out of context.
Speaking of context, let's talk about the context of watching this trial again, too, because some of what we alluded to earlier, where Kellya was thanking for moderation yesterday, it gets into slightly more contentious bounds than the normal true crime story, because normally the person on the stand is 100% reprehensible, no redeeming factors, and we can all enjoy a good laugh at absolutely anything we want to laugh at for that person. With Betty, there's some people, like, there's the whole range of support, like from 100% support to, you know, well, I understand where she was coming from, she shouldn't have done that. So all of this range that we don't really see for other criminals, or if we do see them, we just discount the people who support them as wingnuts, like, oh yeah, there's always a few crazies. I think the thing that's going to make this chat both interesting but also, you know, a little bit more difficult to navigate is there are super legitimate concerns that Betty had, and at the same time, they don't legitimize what she did. So I think that there's going to be a lot of people like my mom when she watches this who remembers how bad it was just for women her age at this time. And, you know, kind of seeing this little firebrand of Betty Broderick, you know, yelling about things that a lot of her and her friends didn't yell about but knew about. So there's shades of gray to this case that I don't think exist in the standard case, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you, you know, don't believe the jury that convicted her. She's been convicted. She's been in jail for 35 years. I tend to, you know, believe that the system's done the right thing. But when I'm discussing having empathy for, a lot of times it's not necessarily even empathy for Betty, but empathy for what women were going through at that time. So, oh, I see Lola's here and Lola's mom as well.
Weren't you complaining at that time that it was Dan's house that didn't fit the kids? It was Dan's house that was in the slums and it wasn't an appropriate house and that your house was much better? Weren't you making statements like that?
We came out of a 5-bedroom house where every
Uh-oh.
child had their own bedroom and we had a master bedroom. That's 5 bedrooms. And each
There
of
we
us after Coral Reef got 3-bedroom houses. put a master bedroom and a suite, and then 2 other bedrooms sharing a bath. So that left the 2 boys in one room, the 2 girls in another room, and all 4 children sharing what was in both houses, a very small bath. 4 kids sharing the one bath. That is not the living arrangements any of us were ever used to, and the kids sharing the closet and everything in the room.
So
So
was that your reason for not taking the children in 1987?
No, but that's the reason for that.
that.
That's the reason for that, and that's before I built the family room and tried to make my house better for the children. Neither Dan's house nor my house had a family room or enough bedrooms compared to Coral Reef.
Well, so the children had to share a room at Dan's house, right? Danny and Rhett stayed in the same room. They had bunk beds in the same room at Dan's house.
Only for a few months because they fought like crazy. And then when somebody moved out, Danny went into that bedroom, and Kim was in the maid's room downstairs, and that's how Lee ended up in the pool house.
Okay.
You know,
And
'cause
so
there-
are you saying there was no room in that house that you were living in to take these children?
No, everything's relative. I could have had 100 people on the floor if that's how they wanted to live, but it wasn't the
You're-
way they were used to living.
If Mary
And I
and
was trying
Joseph
to make
showed
the
up,
house better.
I could have made a manger
So your
for them.
choice in December of 1987 was still that the house was not appropriate enough to take custody of your children.
If that's what that says, that's what I wrote there that day at that time for a reason. I had to
You
fix up
also
my
said-
house. I added things as time went on.
It was more important to you to fix up your house.
It was more important to me that the kids.
Argumentative, Roxanne.
Lola. Lola, Lola. She looks like a dog, but she acts like a cat. Looks at me, and I look right back at Lola. La 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 Lola.
You indicated also that not only did your house not fit them, but you had no money to support them, right?
I always said I had no money. I never had
And
any
this
money.
was December of,
Good point, A to B. Pool house, maid's room, rich lady problems. Oh my God, can you believe that we had children sleeping in the powder room? What did I... Oh, for fuck's sake. Get it together, Dan. I just do that. How far are we into the stream? That's probably not going to tell me because I've been chatting. We're a half hour into the stream. 13 minutes into the video.
1988, the check to I Magnum for $500.
Right.
January 18th, 19. I'd like to just go through these checks one by one.
Pool house.
Pool house.
Okay.
You know,
And
'cause
so
there-
are you saying there was no room in that house that you were living in to take these children?
This is a
No,
Cairn
everything's-
Terrier. Lola is a Cairn Terrier. Part of the Terrier family. Little obstinate, a little stubborn, and very sturdy.
Relative. I could have had 100 people on the floor if that's how they wanted to live, but it wasn't the
You're-
way they were used to living.
Okay.
And I was trying to make the house better for them.
And so your choice in December of 1987 was still that the house was not appropriate enough to take custody of your children.
This is more Lola updates. There are brothers and sisters to Lola's birth pack, but my mom picked Lola out of the bunch, drove to Calgary, Alberta to pick her up from the breeder and bring her here. I am more of a rescue pets person. My cats tend to be senior citizens that my cat right now I adopted as a senior and I've had for 12 years. So he was supposed to be on his last 2 years when I got him. I think sometimes a happy home is all a cat needs. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, that's a breeder dog.
If that's what that says, that's what I wrote there that day at that time for a reason.
Exactly like Toto.
I had to
You
fix
also
up my
said-
house.
Only
I am-
difference between her and Toto is poor Judy Garland would have had to have been a weightlifter because Lola's 26 pounds.
Did things as time went on.
Okay. It was more important to you to fix up your house.
It was more important to me that the kids.
Argumentative, Roxanne.
You indicated also that not only did your house not fit them, but you had no money to support them, right?
I always said I had no money.
That's just
I
what I
never had
said.
This was December of 1987. Your Honor may have marked as people 73, a group of chicks.
Tell me how many?
Yes.
How many, or what's what and how many, Your Honor? Oh, so maybe this is a good time to talk about Attorney Wells.
14 chicks.
So marked.
Dressed in her Annie audition outfit, Prosecutor Wells becomes a judge in the San Diego
I'd like to just go through these
District
checks
Court system.
one by one and simply have you identify them as your checks if you would. Referring first to the first check dated November 5th, 1987, written to I. Magnan for $500. Was that a check that you wrote?
Yes,
And on November 9th, 1987, a check to Nordstrom's for $500. Was that a check that you wrote?
yes,
November 11th, 1987, a check to Saks Fifth Avenue for $391.
Saks Fifth Avenue.
Did you write that? November 11th, 1987, a check to Robinson's for $500. Did you write that check?
Yes, I did.
November 4th, 1987, a check to First Card, your MasterCard for $1,000.
right.
Just pay attention to how controlled the prosecutor is for all the coughing and sniffling and everything that we've heard in the courtroom. I have not noticed the prosecutor do it a single time. And the reason I point that out is she is sick with the flu in the next footage we see in this video. So I just want to pay attention now to see if we see any signs of it. I think she dials it in amazingly if she's got a flu oncoming. And I bet the people in the courtroom gave it to her.
November 4th, 1987, a check to Great American for MasterCard, $1,000.
Mhm.
Is that your check?
These are all my checks.
December 8th, 1987, a check to Nordstrom's for $1,000.
Yes.
December 15th, 1987, a check to Neiman Marcus for $1,000.
Oh, yes, Neiman Marcus.
December 21st, 1987, a check to Great American on your MasterCard for $1,000, $1,012.74.
Right.
January 8th, 1988, a check to I. Magnan for $500.
Right.
I'm just going to interrupt the checks for a little biography on Miss Wells, and we'll continue with her biography. I'll keep giving little snippets at breaks, but the first bit, she was appointed to the Superior Court in January 2003 by then Governor Gray Davis. Judge Wells was recognized nationally for her prosecutorial expertise and lecturing in the area of domestic violence and stalking. Prior to her appointment on the bench, Judge Wells worked for more than 20 years as a prosecutor, first in San Diego City Attorney's Office, and then with the San Diego County District Attorney's Office. Many San Diegans may remember her prosecutorial work in one of San Diego's most high-profile cases, the 1991 prosecution of Elizabeth Betty Broderick, who was charged with murdering her ex-husband and his wife after stalking them for several years.
January 18th, 1988, a check to Robinson's for $500.
Right.
January 8th, 1988, a check to Nordstrom's for $1,000.
This has been a long time, yes.
January 18th, 1988, a check to Neiman Marcus for $550.
Right.
January 18th, 1988, a check to Bowers, which is a jewelry store, for $261.
Right.
And look at that smug look. Like, it's almost like she's reliving all those shopping trips. And like, don't you just wish you could have spent this kind of money, Miss Wells? Oh, every pause gets her. They're going to bring up. I paused it for a reason, too. Oh, just to defend Mom on choosing a breeder dog for her. This is her final adoption. She had a friend that had a Cairn Terrier that was super well behaved for a terrier. Not judging Lola. But decided that, she's always, just had dogs that were, I don't know, her boyfriend's dogs or whatever. So she wanted to get a dog that was hers and, chosen right from the beginning. So she knew she wanted a Cairn Terrier and then went out and found one. And that's how little Lola got here. So I don't begrudge her for going that route, even though I said free dogs. Yeah, I did say free dogs, Lola. Free dogs are just as good. Disney Mom, good to see you.
You did tell Dr. Nelson in 1987, sometime in 1987, that the kids were happy living in their dad's house. Do you recall telling Dr. Nelson that?
I don't know. I went to Dr. Nelson because the children were suicidal, running away, and depressed and unhappy at Dan's house. So
Not because
You
I
know,
have.
I
Telling
told him that.
Dr. Nelson?
I
don't
went
thi-
because the children had problems, not because I have a problem. I'm obviously super well adjusted, totally normal. I just went for the kids.
feel terrible that the kids are living with their father. I have a 3-bedroom house, so the boys would have to share. The kids are happy living in their dad's house.
I could have said that on that day, but I went to him about getting the kids.
And there were times when you got the children for visitation, weekends, for example, that made you angry. You were angry when you would get them. You felt that Dan was using you as a babysitter.
That particular weekend that he dumped them and went to the Ritz-Carlton, and I found out later, yes, I felt that he had made these plans and he didn't have a babysitter, so dump and away he went. That was that, yes.
Well, that was back
Felt
in
that was rude.
1986, that weekend. There were many other weekends in 1987 and 1988 where you felt the same way, where you were angry about getting the kids because you felt he was using you as a babysitter.
I felt he was jerking us all around by not having any plans. Already said I couldn't make any plans, and I never knew till the last minute. And he was totally jerking me around on purpose. If he knew I had plans, I'd get the kids. If I asked for the kids in advance, like the Christmas party or Halloween or something, I could be assured I wasn't getting them. That was the only thing I could count on. But it was just turmoil, and it was driving me crazy. And I was very angry. Yes.
Well, you were depressed about or claimed to be depressed about the fact that the kids were coming over, period, because they made such a mess in your house.
My kids always made a mess. They're kids.
And did you tell Dr. Nelson, I'm depressed thinking of the kids coming to live with me for the weekend? They drive me crazy?
No.
Did you tell Dr. Nelson, I'm not comfortable having the kids in my house. If it's not right, I don't want the kids?
Interesting chats already coming up, and there's some discussion of both sides of the main issue here. In that, how Betty was probably authentically, had real legitimate griefs, but then just took it in a completely illegitimate direction. And which was summed up by Bernice in saying Dan was a shit. And I've pinned that. One of the examples I came up with yesterday, and more as a thought experiment because it's not a perfect match, but to kind of understand what Dan could have been like as far as ruining Betty's life, is think of Alex Murdaugh. And the power, the prestige, all the standing he had in that community, and how powerless people would have felt fighting against him. And not saying that Betty had that situation, but that I think is what she's trying to argue. And at least having that as a parallel to think, okay, if she's telling the truth and it was that bad, you can kind of see how it would drive you to do things that you wouldn't do when you're compos mentis. But at best, she's arguing for Dan made her non-compos mentis. And if you think of an Alex Murdaugh, you can see how it's possible anyway. But, it's not an exact parallel. I don't have the information to know that Dan was an Alex Murdaugh, just to know that she thought he was, and gives a better understanding if you believe that she is expressing her honest feelings of feeling trapped. Maybe. Anyway, it's an interesting lens to kind of understand Dan through, because rather than making allegations on Dan that can't be proven, he's not here to defend himself. Thinking of a stand-in that could be that bad just makes it a little easier to see her arguments, even if you don't agree with them.
If it's not right, I don't want the kids. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know.
Do you recall talking about Rhett saying, I don't want to care for him. If I do 10 more years of childcare and not take care of myself, I'll end up with nothing. Rhett will have to go back to Dan and do the best he can. I have to take care of myself.
If that's what he wrote down, I guess I said that, but I don't know what I meant by that. Except that I was deteriorating very rapidly myself
No.
and I needed help.
And that's exactly it, Christine Garcia. So I'm not. I'm bringing it up more as a thought experiment for us as in watching the trial, not to change anyone's opinions or even to change their opinions of Dan if you aren't feeling that that he was as bad as people say he was. Just as a thought experiment for trying to understand Betty in a sense of she's not as crazy as Sarah. There's more legitimacy to each of these stories. It doesn't legitimize what she did, but you can see how it tapped into an emotion that a lot of women were feeling that didn't murder their husbands, but were also feeling trapped and powerless because just of the society at that time, and how a man could have that sort of influence and standing over a woman. If not, just in their particular marriage with the legal and everything else, and that's the Alex Murdaugh, but even in a lot of just standard marriages where the man had all the power, had the spending, and, women were really at the mercy of their husbands' whims in a lot of situations.
Do you
Hey,
recall
Ocean
being
Sounds.
angry about the boys coming over to visit you on your birthday in 1986 because it ruined your invites for the day?
And I agree, Mandy. I think both of those can be true. If you believe Betty's claims, Dan sounded like a shit, but the facts prove Betty is lying through her teeth. So I can believe that she's lying for, all kinds of stuff that is in her benefit. And at the same time, I think it's possible that Dan was also a shit. And, if he had done something criminal worthy to Betty, we'd be examining his actions and at least listening to his, you don't understand, she was crazy. And so if it had turned the other way, we can authentically say Betty did some crazy things. So let's say he killed her. Would we, not be looking at the driving the car through the front door incident with a critical eye? Like, hey, she's dead, Anyway, I'm not married to any particular view on the case. I'm more just trying to be a host that welcomes all views that are coming to the chat and provides space for the arguments to be debated in a friendly context.
No, I don't remember. I don't know what invites are.
Did you write in your diary, supposedly let boys come here for my birthday? Having boys ruined all the invites I had for birthday.
I don't know what that means.
You complain.
And I will also address Disney Mom in the chat, asking about parole. We've brought this up a few times. 2032 is her next parole hearing. Her last hearing was in 2017. The reason there's a 15-year gap is that's the maximum the parole board can choose. Basically, they have the option of like a 2-year, a 5-year, a 10-year revisiting of the parole. Betty had such a lack of remorse at the 2010, she got the maximum review period to her or 2017, which led her to the maximum review period of 2032. She'll be 84 years old if she survives to her next parole hearing.
That you weren't allowed to visit the boys, or they weren't allowed to visit you on your birthday, and yet when you had them for your birthday, you complained that they ruined your other plans for the day.
Well, that's what would happen, is I would be told I wasn't getting them on birthday and a particular Mother's Day that I remember. So I'd make other plans on a particular Mother's Day because I couldn't have my children. I invited Brad's mother to town and father and his brother and stuff. And because I couldn't have my own children, I was going to have this nice weekend for Brad's mother. And I made a lot of plans, a lot of cooking and everything, and bang, all my kids show up. And it wasn't that I didn't want to see my children. I wanted to see my children, but it really messed up the whole weekend. And Mrs. Wright felt like she was in the way now because my kids showed up and they left early, and I felt bad about it. It was just mayhem all the time. It wasn't that I didn't want to ever see my children.
Well, do you recall complaining when the boys would come over? In, for example, August of '88, can't do anything social with boys here. House a mess. House a mess. One into the other. I'm in for all day. Money, 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 even when home. Just like old days, free slave.
Are those pages from my diary?
Yes.
If you're going to keep putting in pages from the diary, we have to put in the whole diary that is a day-by-day demise and destruction of everything. It's just, I'm
Well,
just
let me
going
just
in the
ask you
toilet
about
here.
this particular day on August the 1st.
Rule of
I had an attorney
completeness.
appointment at the top of the page, and the boys were here the next day. And then a week later, I can't do anything social with boys here. House a mess. This is the summertime, so they must have been there. One into the other, I'm in car all day, money, 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 even when home. I don't even know what that means now. Just like the old days, free slave. Those are my notes on August 8th. I don't even know what year.
Your Honor, this might be appropriate time for the break.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our morning recess at this time. We'll be in recess for 15 minutes until 25 to 11. Please remember the admonition. During the recess, it was brought to my attention by my bailiff that we have two jurors who are a little under the weather. One is apparently substantially ill. It's Miss Correnti, is that correct?
They just say her name. So much for anonymous jurors. It's been 35 years. Sorry, Miss Corinthe, but yeah, you're part of the record.
No. Oh, you in the back. I'm sorry. They told me it was the lady in the front row, and it's the lady in the back row. It is the lady in the back row. I'm sorry.
Lady in the back row that's been coughing all over the people in the front row.
I had, and you are Miss Correnti, right?
It's not Mr. Correnti.
It's not. Oh. Miss Phelps? All right.
Do you think the courtroom reporter, she just said something? Did she type what she said? See how skilled she is. 2128. As a court reporter kind of points out to the judge who it is, there's no way she's typing that too.
They told me it was the lady in the front row, and it's the lady in the back row. It is the lady in the back row. I'm sorry. I had, and you are Miss Correnti, right?
It's not Mr. Correnti.
It's not. Oh. Miss
Yeah,
Phelps?
yeah. The court reporter said it's this lady. I wonder if it's this lady, court reporter.
All right. Also, one of the gentlemen jurors is a little under the weather. He thinks he could probably make it through the day. I've discussed with the attorneys this matter, and they both have informed me that they would like to keep our present jury constituted the way it is, and that they do not have an objection to us taking a recess for the day so that you can recover.
Yeah.
And that in that event, we wouldn't be seating the alternates at this time. Is that correct, Ms. Wells and Mr. Early?
That is correct.
And you concur in your attorney's decision, Ms. Broderick? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a recess at this time. Now, if any of you aren't feeling well enough to make it tomorrow morning, if you just call us and not try to come in here and tell us that. If you're not well enough to make it, you can just call the courtroom and let my clerk know. And if you call early enough, we'll try to get a hold of the other jurors so that they don't have to drive in also. If, obviously, we hope that.
So this is before the alternates were part of the jury. This, I think, because of situations like this, they do what we are more commonly used to now. Well, they'll have 12 people in the jury box, and of the people who make it to the end of the trial, they select the 8 or whatever that are deciding the case and dismiss the alternates. This was probably at a time that the alternates were just like, you can just go about your lives. We'll call you in if you're needed. But probably a testament to why they had to change that system.
This is a temporary thing and not a 3-day flu or whatever. With that, we'll recess for the day. Please remember the admonition. And one other thing I want to mention to you specifically, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're all being careful about not, watching the television news and that sort of thing, but sometimes something can sneak up on you. I know that at some point this week, and I'm not sure if it's tonight or tomorrow or Friday night, 2020 will be doing a segment on this case. I'm not sure what they'll broadcast, but I just would ask you not to watch any of the 2020 program whenever it's on, so that you're not exposed to something and can't get to the TV fast enough to get rid of it. So please be extra careful not to watch that show this week.
I think that's what it is. At the end of, I think, tomorrow's broadcast, that we're splitting into Monday and Tuesday's broadcast, but there is an hour long, and it seems like 2020 now that I think about it, but it seemed like a Dateline style program about the Betty Broderick case. So I'm going to post the link in that video if you guys want to watch it afterwards. Because it's its own creative work, I don't want to watch it on the stream and then find out that it's copyright stricken. So we'll pause that video and let you guys watch it in full. I'll watch it separately at work too, so we can still discuss it at the beginning of the next stream if there's something interesting there. But I did notice that there was an hour of kind of documentary style footage at the end of one of these videos that's not courtroom. So giving you a heads up on that. Kind of going slow today. We'll pick it up. We'll get our speed. I'm thinking we'll be done in 3.5 to 4 hours total today.
Please remember the admonition. See you tomorrow morning. We're in recess. Sure, you're present. Mrs. Broderick is not present. The district attorney is not present at their request. Mr. Early is present representing his client, who I understand waives her presence for purposes of this proceeding. Mr. Early, is that correct?
That's correct.
So that's sudden.
Mr. Chuck Irwin representing the Sheriff's Department, is that correct?
Good morning, Your Honor. Charles Irvin on behalf of the sheriff.
Your Honor, Elizabeth Bowman is here. She's also an attorney who's been working on at least the orders for this.
Ms. Bowman? The matters on calendar for the court to consider 10 proposed orders submitted by the defense, so I understand has attempted to gain informal discovery on matters related to the jail incident, and the sheriff, for various reasons, has refused to comply with the informal request, at least as to these 10 areas, and it's on calendar at the defense request for the court to rule on these various orders. Does that accurately state why we're here, gentlemen? And Ms. Bowman?
Yes, it does, except that there were 9 orders that related to the first incident, and I added 10 points.
This is the first time this attorney's talked on Betty's side. Interesting that Betty's not here and the prosecutor's not here.
Yeah,
Since that time, but I gave a copy of that also.
all right, but I have a total of 10, so I have them all.
Yes, you did.
Let's start with the 2 orders involving the Sharon Nobles. I'm not quite sure of the relevance of that. Can somebody enlighten me as to Sharon Nobles?
If I could just very briefly, Your Honor, Sharon Nobles was in the cell before Elizabeth Broderick was in the disciplinary cell. Also, the incident that rose, that got it so that Mrs. Broderick was given some disciplinary time that this incident arose out of, was because of an incident that involved Sharon Nobles. And so there was a dispute between her and a deputy, and that's, and obviously this would be part of the evidence to show Mrs. Broderick's reaction, what the sheriff did, what was reasonable and unreasonable. And she was the person who was down in the holding cell. There was some incidents with the marshals down there. There was an incident on the bus where she broke some stuff in the bus, some threats towards my client. And then she arrived at the jail where there was another incident with Ms. Nobles. And then there was an incident that Ms. Broderick got the disciplinary time for.
Well, let's start with the 2 orders then with regards to her.
So Ida B is asking what's going on. Did she say somebody or did he say somebody refused to do something? And no, from what I can tell, I think the district attorney is sick. I think Betty has waived her right to be here because it's going to be a bit of a paperwork day or something. They're going through a few orders and motions, and it doesn't last too long. I scrub a little bit ahead. We've got about 25 minutes of nobody. Then it looks like the prosecutor makes it back. Yeah, we go to a new day of testimony in about a half an hour. If it gets too in the weeds, we might just turn down the volume and chat amongst ourselves.
Mr. Irvin, the first one is for all videotapes of any incidents involving inmate Sandra Nobles.
Did Betty do a Boston cream pie of her own jail cell? That sounds like Mackenzie Sharilla's neighbor.
Do any such videotapes exist?
To my knowledge, there are no existing videotapes of inmates Sandra Nobles.
With that by way of background, Mr. Early, is there any sense in me signing this order, or do you want me to sign it in any event?
Well, if
Oh.
the record can read.
Yeah, so the disciplinary thing, they didn't really explain why she was there, but they're talking about a witness named Sharon Noble. The judge is asking, what's her relevance? And all Jack Early has said is that she was in the disciplinary cell that Elizabeth Broderick or Betty Broderick was in prior to Betty being brought into the disciplinary cell. So it doesn't explain why in the disciplinary cell. I can imagine she's probably, screw you, trying to tell the guards the rules, just like Sarah. But yeah, this is interesting, and I have no idea what's going on.
Then that what I would like is the court just to have the order and that it's been complied with, or at least their representation has been complied with, since there is no videotape.
And I assume you have no objection to the order then, Mr. Irwin, is that correct?
I don't have any objection, Your Honor.
All right. I'll sign that order. Today is November the 7th.
The only legitimate reason I can think of that Sarah would want to or would have access to the names of the jurors is not personally, but if she ever was to hire a lawyer, it's possible, it's reasonable for a lawyer to try and contact the previous journey at their request. They don't have to take the lawyer's call, but a lawyer can say, hey, I'm trying her in, it was a mistrial, it was a hung jury, whatever. I'm just trying to talk to the people in the jury so I can understand where my case went wrong. Did I lose you from the word go? I'm sure, if they're asking James Owen's jury, it's like, yeah, they made the opening statement and read what was on the video. When that matched exactly what was on the video, she was guilty. And then there was all that other shit she brought in. That just made her crazy, but we knew she was guilty from the end of the main case from the prosecutor.
The next order with regard to Ms. Nobles is for all documents, so I'm sure specifically what he means is reports made by agents of the Sheriff's Department regarding Sandra Nobles. What's your position on that, Mr. Irwin?
My position, Your Honor, is that defense counsel hasn't shown any good cause for how these matters might be relevant to the proceedings before this
So this is this guy's first appearance in the trial, so he must be just from the DA office, maybe a clerk for Attorney Wells.
court. My understanding is that the incident involving Mrs. Broderick at the Las Colinas detention facility has not been brought before the court at this time. I'm not sure if it ever will be before this court.
Well,
I think that,
Go ahead.
excuse me, I think that the materials that are part and parcel of this booking jacket, which is what it's commonly referred to by us, there's some privileged information regarding this inmate. I think furthermore that many of the documents that are inside this booking jacket would be precluded from discovery by 6254 of the government code. And I would ask that this court not grant Mr. Early's order to disclose these materials. Furthermore, I think, and I'm privy to some information, that this inmate may be under some psychiatric care or some medical care. I believe that there are documents relating to that condition in this file. I think they concern confidential patient-client discussions. And I don't think they're appropriate for discovery. I would assert privilege on her behalf as to those materials.
That would appear to be appropriate, but what about just the incident reports that are filled out by a deputy sheriff or correctional officer?
As they relate to Sandra Nobles,
Yes.
I can't see any relevance that might have before this court today.
I'm not saying whether or not it has any relevance at this point, but in case the videotape comes in, they may become relevant. And I understand that Mr. Early needs this information in order to investigate any possible defense his client might have to the videotaped incident, should the videotaped incident come into evidence. So I'm not at this point saying that it is relevant or will become relevant in this case, but I think he has a right to information to be in a position to present a defense should it become relevant.
Is the court then instructing that we should make the entire file
No,
available?
I would not want you to release any medical information on her. I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think that's something they need for a defense. Go ahead, Mr. Early.
Your Honor, I think it's appropriate, though, that they submit to the court the file, and that the court can order that if there's something that's private in there, that be ordered sealed and not turned over. But I think, first of all, they wouldn't have the right to do the privilege, but I'm not going to ask for privileged information at this point in time. But I think it's at least appropriate that the file be made available to the court so the court can review it and give over to us the incident reports that would be relevant. And I would honor the court that those reports that are turned over are only to be used for the purpose of investigation, not released to any other person.
And specifically not to any civil attorneys that may be involved in this incident. I'm sure you would not do that, but I'm sure that's what they're interested in also.
Yeah, I'm not going to, what I'm saying is it would be only used for investigation in this case, and I would not be using it to turn it over to anyone else.
Seems like an appropriate compromise, Mr. Irwin. Do you have an objection to that?
I'd submit, Your Honor.
All right, then I won't sign the order, turned over to the defense. I'll leave that order unsigned, but with the understanding that Mr. Irwin, your department will turn that file over to me, and I will release only unprivileged material, specifically, more than likely just the incident reports. I don't know what else might be in there, but probably would just release the incident reports.
Are we then going to have an in-camera hearing regarding the materials that are in that file, Your Honor? Are you directing us to turn that file over to you and you'll
I think
return
you
it
can
after
just,
you've reviewed
I
it?
think you can just turn it over to me unless you want to have a hearing, and I'll review it. And if I'm going to release anything other than incident reports, I'll notify both counsel so that we can have a hearing. You'll have an opportunity to object.
Very well. Are you going to set a date for us to turn that over?
How soon can you do it?
And in
Tomorrow?
light of the three-day weekend, would Tuesday be appropriate?
Sure, that's all right.
Very well.
Your Honor, I'd just like to state that after we receive the information, that we may be asking for further information or require another hearing with regard to the privileged information.
All right, well, at this point, I can't see where you would be entitled to any psychiatric reports, which I think is going to be the only thing in their privilege, but if you want to have a hearing on that, you can.
Thank you.
The next order that I have in front of me is requesting all the documents and reports regarding an August 23rd, 1991 incident of involving the defendant Elizabeth Broderick. Do you have any objection to turn over incident reports on that incident, Mr.
My
Irwin?
understanding, Your Honor, these materials have been made available to the DA. We furnished all such documents. I think defense counsel can get those documents from the district attorney.
Your Honor, we attempted to get the documents from the district. Attorney, and we had a hearing on the matter, and we were referred to Captain Spencer and then in turn to Mr. Irvin.
Mr. Irvin, apparently the district attorney isn't going to turn them over. Can you turn them over without an order, or do you need an order?
That's fine, Your Honor.
Turn them over without an order?
Yes.
Assume you have no objection to their voluntary compliance then, Mr. Irwin, with that request?
That's fine.
The next order that I have is the work schedules of all sheriff's agents or employees that were involved in the September 1st jail extraction of the defendant. I assume what you mean by work schedules, Mr. Early, is you want to know their current work schedule so you can contact them for possible interviews. Is that the thrust of this order?
No, Your Honor, the thrust of this is to find out the work schedules. Your Honor, we don't have a date that's in this order, but I would ask that their work schedules be for July, August, and September, because these are people that had contact with Elizabeth Broderick, and part of our defense may involve the reasons that there was a jail extraction at that time of the evening and that time of the day, and the contact that these people have with Elizabeth Broderick.
So you're just interested in whether or not, what days of the week they were working during the months of July, August, September of 1991?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection to that, Mr. Irvin?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd object for us to have to go back and now pull 3 months of work schedules for deputies, and I think there are about 7 or 8 deputies that were involved in this incident. I think is burdensome and oppressive. I think that Mr. Early can find out the exact same information by interviewing these people and finding out when they were working and what their duties were on those dates and times. I think for us to now go through and have to go through county resources and contact the auditor to attempt to discover these work schedules. And I'm not sure if we maintain them out at Las Colinas or if they're now furnished to the auditor and the payroll department. But I would submit that I think this is burdensome and it's oppressive for us to now have to go and search out the dates and times that 7 or 8 people worked for a 3-month period.
Mr. Early, what's wrong with just talking to these people and asking when they work?
They refuse to talk to us. We've interviewed them, they've refused to talk to us. We've contacted at least 3 of them now, and they've all refused to have an interview with us. And
Does your client contend any one of the 7 or 8 in particular has some axe to grind or whatever? Or?
yes, that was the statement that has been made on a number of occasions, that the timing of this event, the fact that it was done late at night, the fact that it was done on a weekend.
I'm so sorry.
When you don't have administrative staff in the sheriff's office, I think shows.
I did just
some
mime
pattern
the
that
hand
was done
thing, but
with explicit intent to.
I said
put
something more
Elizabeth Robert
important
in a bad
earlier.
light. And I think what you have to weigh against it is they say it's a imprisonment. My client is facing life without possibility of parole. And we tried the first remedy. It didn't, to talk to the officers themselves, it didn't work. And I think that it's not so oppressive. I can't believe that it's that hard for them to find out work schedules for that period of time. We can make it from July 15th to September 15th.
How about from July 15th to September 1st, which is the date of the
Ooh,
incident?
this is a good idea. So while they're going through these motions, I'm going to start posting shorts to Sarah Boone clips that you guys can feel free to pop in and out of the
Modify
chat.
this order to show the
And every minute,
timesheets, work schedules,
I'll let you know
etc.
if something more interesting than an order comes up.
The employees that were involved in the September 1st jail extraction.
But then
of
that
Mr.
means
Broderick
taints
from
the broadcast
15th
for the rewatch crew.
through August. Is that agreeable, Mr. Earl?
Well, it'd have to be through September 1st.
All right, through September 1st.
Your Honor, I think maybe it's appropriate just to do it through September 3rd, since that's the end of that weekend. The Labor Day.
Because it sounds like all that Betty's lawyers, I'll just summarize quickly before it
I
goes
don't
to,
sign that order.
not that quickly.
That's why I have a,
Yeah, he's asking for work schedules of deputies and stuff like that. I don't see how any of this is relevant to, whether it's 2nd-degree murder or manslaughter for Betty Broderick, but it's busy work to keep the prosecutors from, sitting up and working on their questions and arguments and stuff. In any case, it is kind of boring, so I'm going to let it just play in the background while I chat with the chat and provide links to Sarah Boone videos that I think are funny.
request for a list of inmates and the applicable dates
If
of
you're
all those housed in
on replay,
from
Turn
August
on live
15th
chat replay, and
through
then
September
you can
20th of 91.
check out these
What's
links
the
too,
results of that,
and you
Mr.
can
Earl?
pause. You don't have to
Yeah,
miss
and I
anything.
think that can be shortened through August 15th through September 3rd. These would be the potential witnesses to what led up to this incident with Elizabeth Broderick.
You got any idea how many inmates we're talking about? I mean, it's just 10 or 12 or several hundred.
I mean, in A housing, there's probably, it may be 20 to 30.
Mr. Irvin?
I have no objection.
All right, give you the list. Can you voluntarily provide it? You want me to sign
This
the order?
first one is from
I would support the
music
signed
from
order.
West Side
Is it going to be
Story.
limited to the September 3rd date, Your Honor?
No, you said from August 15th through September 3rd.
1 minute long if you're coming back and
Yes.
needing to catch up.
So I'll modify that order to from August 15th through September 3rd. Sign that one. Next one I have is a list of all inmates that were held in the detention cell at Las Colinas from August 15th through September 20th. I assume we can modify that to September 3rd also, Mr. Earl?
Yes, sir.
What's your position on that, Mr. Berman?
Your Honor, and just so that it's clear, the detention cell is I'm talking about is the disciplinary lockup cells. I think there's 2 or 3 of those. It's not meant at the normal booking detention cells where people first come into custody.
All right. Mr. Earl?
Your Honor, I'm opposed to that. I don't think Mr. Early has demonstrated any relevance to discovering why we have other inmates in disciplinary lockup. The fact that we have people in disciplinary lockup or administrative
Hey, Tam
segregation
Tam,
is not relevant to the time that, to the instances that Ms. Broderick
eat my
was placed in
shorts.
Administrative segregation. The rationale for why we put prisoners there, the length of time, the reasons and rationales for their being there. I don't think it's appropriate for him to have this information.
So for each short, I'll just post it and keep an eye on the timestamp. You can go watch it and probably just come back live and you won't miss anything. And then we could have a group chat about the short rather than the testimony if you're interested in it. And if you want to stay with us, you can certainly do that. I'll just be posting something in the background to keep it all interesting all day long.
I would ask that the court not grant this order.
I'm not asking, as I understand it, for why they were there, just the name of who was there. Is that
That's all.
the objection, just the names of who were there? Not a question of why they were there or for how long.
I think the fact that these people were there indicates that there was some type of disciplinary action. I don't think it's appropriate for counsel to know. Just based on their names, it's apparent that they have received some discipline and that we were meeting out some discipline in the facility. The fact that they are there, I don't think is appropriate for him to discover.
What's your need for this information, Mr. Earl?
Your Honor, there's been allegations as to the condition of the room and things that Mrs. Broderick allegedly did in that room, Your Honor. The district attorney has indicated that they would want this evidence as mental state evidence in her condition, what she does in the jail. I think it's appropriate for us to be able to investigate and find out from witnesses the condition of those cells and how they're normally kept. I've limited it to that period of time, so to a short period of time, so that we're not in the position of saying, well, here's a cell a year later or a year before, but just the condition of those cells at that period of time.
How about just the cell that your client was in? That's really all I can see to be relevant.
Thank
Okay,
you,
we
Eddie.
have that cell then, Your Honor, who just the names of the people in that cell.
Problem with that, Mr. Earl?
I would still object to the release of that information, Your Honor.
All right, well, I'll order just the release of the names of people that occupied the particular lockdown cell that Ms. Broderick was placed in on September 1st.
Oh, they're
People
guards.
that,
Not
previously occupied that from August 15th
To September 3rd then, Your
to
Honor.
September 3rd. I'll sign that order. All right, so that order is modified now, reads a list, including the names of inmates and applicable dates of Las Colinas inmates held in the detention cell occupied by Elizabeth Broderick on September 1st, 1991, from August 15th, 91 through September 3rd, 91. Next one that I have is a list of any and all videotapes of inmates at Las Colinas, including the name of the inmate, date of the incident, nature of the incident that were recorded within the past 6 months. What's the need for that, Mr. Early?
Well, Your Honor, there's going to be a question if we're alleging the reason of the incident with Elizabeth Broderick and the videotaping of it was for some other reason than jail discipline. I think that we have the right to look to see what they do videotape and what kind of incidents that it does happen.
Mr. Urban?
Well, I would oppose this request, Your Honor. I think the fact that we do videotaping in the jail, many times those videotapes become evidence. And later
Blair's
criminal
got a
proceedings.
handle.
I think if there are any videotapes of incidents in the jail, that would be their purpose, as was the purpose of this incident when we videotaped Ms. Broderick.
I'll
and
go
her
over and
scuffle.
play darts.
I don't think Mr. Early is should be privy to the nature of other incidents involving other inmates. It's not probative of the issues before this court, and I would ask that this request be denied.
Mr. I don't see the relevance of this. I'm going to deny this request.
Well, Your Honor, what if they don't have any other videotape incidences?
They may not have it. You can just ask them that. If you want to put on a witness and ask them that.
Well, Your Honor, I think I'm at least entitled to know some discovery to know what witnesses to put on. How
You wanna
would I
go
even know?
outside?
I mean, what am I supposed to do? Start putting everyone on the jail
No,
and
you would
trial?
call, I would assume you would call the.
I'll be
watch
right
commander
back.
Or call Captain Spencer. You can call somebody to ask if they have videotaped other incidents of inmates in the last 6 months, just yes or no. Mr. Urban may be able to tell you that now. I don't know. Do you have that information?
I don't have that information, but I imagine that Captain Spencer could supply it.
Well, then if
He
I
wishes.
if at least if they can tell Captain Spencer that she has permission to give me that basic information.
I have no problem with her giving you that basic information.
I convey that to Captain Spencer.
Next order I have is the names of any and all agents of the sheriff's department involved in the September 1st jail extraction. I thought you already had that.
We will, Your Honor, because that would be all incident reports.
Okay,
So that does not need to be signed.
next is the records, including timesheets, time cards, work schedules of a
Well, there's
specific deputy.
Two
Deputy
dandies.
Wood from September of 90 through November 13th of 90, and August and September of 91. What's the purpose of that, Mr. Early?
Your Honor, the purpose of that is that there is, that we have allegations of incidences that arose for the first time just before the trial of the first trial that involved Elizabeth Broderick.
Look who's in the
And
chat.
now we have incidents that arise just before the second trial of Elizabeth Broderick. Some of those involved this deputy. So we think that, at least at that point in time, I think we're entitled to show a pattern of that these are the things that happened just at the time of trial.
Take a little pause here because Disney Mom watched the I Feel Pretty video and saw you guys discussing Sarah's cross-examination in chat. One of my favorite moments is every time they did a sidebar and Sarah got to just sit there all smug, reliving her testimony and how well everything was going. So that was the link I posted just recently.
Obviously, and Deputy Woods just happens to be a witness from.
And Mom of Lola is also Mom of Dan D. Mom of Lola is just taking Lola out for a walk, but if you see her in the chat, you can give a little hello to Mom of Dan D as well.
Cross-examination in this case as to statements and other things of the last trial.
What is the significance of whether or not she was working September 28th through November 13th? I don't think there'll be any contention she wasn't.
There may be, I don't know. I mean, she may relate instances where she wasn't working. She may, there may be, I just don't know what, obviously at this time, there's another witnesses that refused to talk to us. And so I cannot go to her and have an interview with her and say, there's been a number of instances that you've either been a witness or you have been involved with. And what was your work schedule? When were you working during that period of time? I can't do that since she won't talk to us.
Mr. Irvin, you got,
Well, Your Honor, she's already been a witness in this proceeding. It seems
she hasn't been.
She has not?
No.
Well, I think that Mr. Early could call her as a witness and find out this information.
Well, I'm not gonna let him call her as a witness to ask her when she worked.
Well, I don't think it's appropriate that we now attempt to go through and find out when this deputy worked, what her duties were for this period.
Can you just ask if some appropriate sergeant or lieutenant or captain in your organization just ask her when she worked during that time frame and turn that information over to Mr. Early rather than get the time cards?
Well, Your Honor, first of all, maybe we ought to find out, maybe the time cards are just kept in one place and they're easy to get and it's not burdensome. I mean, we've been thrown up here to say, maybe it might be very burdensome. I would expect that in almost any county agency that I've been involved in has a person that's a payroll person that keeps records in one place. I understand he says maybe in this world they might be in 50 different places, but they may be in one place and it may not be burdensome. It may be very easy to do that. So I think first we ought to have at least some inquiry. Are they readily available? And if they are readily available, then I don't think the court should say, well, maybe it's burdensome, so I won't say. I think that they have at least some duty to say, well, the records are in 4 different places, 5 different places.
Kitten Pusher just got done with a work meeting and wonders what she'd miss. Yeah, because I'd be tuning in and going, what the hell? They're just done with Betty? Got more Betty to come. Betty took the stand. We had about 20 minutes of testimony, and then they decided to take a recess because a couple of the jurors weren't feeling well. Now they've come back. The next day, I assume, the prosecutor is not well, so has sent the replacement. And they're discussing a bunch of orders regarding new witnesses and new discovery based off of something that happened to Betty while she was in a disciplinary cell. So they're asking for guard work schedules. And so some of this might just be Betty wanting to know it for her personal, use while in jail. Because, she likes to work with information, right? She's kind of like Sarah that way. She works from a standpoint of information. But yeah, all we're seeing is these arguments. We've got about 10 more minutes left less than 10 minutes before the prosecutor reappears. So we go another day forward in the Wayback Machine, and then we'll be back to the cross-examination. It looks like Betty's here as well in about 10 minutes. So in the meantime, I'm posting links to my shorts, humorous times that Sarah was in trial. It's set to music that I can't play during these streams because they're only licensed for use with shorts. So if you're watching, go ahead, watch them. They're less than a minute long. You can come back here, go on time and a half until you get back to live, and you won't miss a thing because they're just talking bullshit.
It would take us 20 hours to get them. If the records are all in one place,
Mr. Urban, do you know whether?
I don't have a problem, Your Honor, supplying information as to when this deputy is and was working. I do have a problem with supplying the exact time she was working, when she was taking her lunch, when she was taking her break, what her duties were in Las Colinas. I don't think that's appropriate that Mr. Hurley find those matters out. It goes part and parcel with how we conduct our operations in the jail.
It seems reasonable, Mr. Hurley, can provide you with what days she was working. Isn't that good enough?
well, I think that at least knowing what shifts she was working and times that you get there and times to get back. Again, this is not material that's going to be released to anyone else. I can't believe that there is anything that is someone's going to discover a secret about the sheriff's operation from a deputy and the time schedules that they worked.
I'll order turned over the days she was working and the time and the shift she was working. If the shift information is readily available, if it's not readily available, you're free to come back and involve the rest of the order again. Is that agreeable, Mr. Urban?
That'd be fine, Your Honor.
So turn over the
Well, this one's fun too. I'm going to be posting the link to the Sarah Boone hair montage. If you guys like it, I'll post the link to the commentaries edition.
The days and shift worked by Deputy Wood from September 28th, 90 through November 13th, 90, and for the month of August and September of 91.
That's right. And I believe that it probably can be from August 1st, in the instance I'm aware of, at 91 through September 3rd.
All right, then I'll further modify it.
Larissa Harris brings up there was a time when Betty was dragged in her underwear by a bunch of staff, and it's on video.
Last one
I've seen it.
is
I wonder if that's what they're
request
talking
for
about.
Copies of all written correspondence from Mrs. Broderick to Sheriff Jim Roach. Any problem with that,
They,
Mr.
they have asked for
Your Honor, is
video.
this the order that indicates order for jury list?
No.
Okay, I have
any such order for
Okay, I have a
jury.
copy with this information. It says order for
Long,
jury
beautiful
list.
hair. She's got it. He's got it. Hair.
There was a typographical error on
Ba-dum,
that.
ba-dum,
That
ba-dum.
should be different.
The only order I have left is one that says to release copies of any and all letters written by Elizabeth Ann Broderick and addressed to Sheriff Jim Roach.
Well,
That's
Your Honor,
correct, Your Honor, but I think.
Yeah, Sarah's so
says
Benny
in
Hill.
caption, It says order for jury lists, and that should have been.
Standing
changed
there
to
with
order
the
for discovery
suitcase, like-
request. So it's a typographical error in that regard.
I don't know what the relevance of this is, Your Honor, but I can tell the court that I've spoken with Sheriff Roach this morning. He has received several letters from Ms. Broderick. I don't know what the status
Exactly,
of those
another
letters
one.
are at this point, nor where they would be found.
The suitcase will speak for itself.
Aside from the relevance issue, we would comply with this to the extent that those letters their location can be ascertained at this time.
Satisfactory, Mr. Earl?
Yes, and I would just like to know if they can't be found, that at least we've informed of the fact that there are letters that exist, they can't be found, and where their last location that was done.
Their last location was on Sheriff Roach's desk.
All right, and I won't bother signing that. You can find them, turn them over. That's the 10 that I had. That's it? Is this?
Is that it?
Yes, it is, Your
Yes,
Honor.
sir.
Okay, we're in recess. Mr. Burkhoff, Mr. Sherman, let's do your matter before I bring the jury in.
Little good-natured
The people of the state of
smiles.
California versus Larry James Evans.
What?
Your Honor, Sheldon Sherman on behalf of Mr. Evans.
California versus Larry James Evans? I guess, the courtroom must be used. Are we really watching Larry James? I don't think so.
Your Honor, just for the record, I'll be straight in this matter. Last Wednesday, with Mr. Lamborn's permission, I did see the court in chambers to indicate that due to Mr. Evans being informed that his wife is contemplating moving to New York State next year, and given the circumstances that the court is aware of, his inability to see his children for a great deal of time.
Yeah, goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Don't
matter
care
of the people of
about
the state
you,
of
Larry.
California versus Elizabeth Ann Broderick. Court finds all members of the jury panel are present. Mr. Early is present. Ms. Broderick is present. Mr. Burkhoff is present. Ms. Wells is not present. She caught whatever you folks had.
Oh, here we
She
go.
called. I talked to her at approximately 8:30 this morning from her house. She informed me she had been up all night. She has the flu. She is uncertain as to whether she would be able to be here tomorrow. We're looking at a 3-day weekend, Monday being a holiday, as I'm sure you are aware. If not, I'll let you know Monday is a holiday. So after discussing the matter with counsel that are present, it is our intention to recess until Tuesday morning at 9.
This is
Counsel and I have also discussed the schedule.
again where rewatching a trial rocks, because let's say we're all excited. Okay, we got through that, but now finally it's the day. Get Betty back on the stand. They're leaving after 2 minutes today.
Of this case, and they both agree, and I agree, that we are still ahead of schedule. This will not place us behind schedule. We will still be okay. However, this is obviously going to throw a monkey wrench a little bit into witness scheduling next week. The way things work, when you have out-of-town witnesses, you have to buy airline tickets in advance to get the best price, as you're probably aware. The defense has some out-of-town witnesses coming. Obviously, we're not gonna
Logistics
get
talk
to
here.
when we thought we were going to get to them. They're going to have to be rescheduled.
So feel free to watch
And
Hair
we will
Part
do
2
Our best to get them here in an
This
orderly
is
fashion.
done
so that
to
we
the
won't
tune
have any interruptions next week.
of
but it
Beauty
is
School
possible
Dropout
that
from
we
the
may
movie
have some
Grease.
interruptions due to circumstances that are beyond anyone's
and those
control.
are all the
Some
hairstyles
of these
that
witnesses
commenters
have,
suggested that Sarah
private
could
practices
have.
and have to reschedule other
I think Kelia had the
appointments
winner
that they have.
as far
So
as
it becomes more than just buying them a new airline ticket. We
Sorry,
will
Judge.
do our best to proceed in an orderly fashion next week, but I think it's fair to let you know what's going on, because I don't like jurors having to guess what we're doing, or it's usually what happens if you guess what we're doing. You think we're doing something secret we don't want you to know about, and that's not the case.
so all I know about the
So with
cell
that,
thing, Addie, and I
Mr.
don't even
Burkhoff
know
is
it.
the people's request that we be dark until Tuesday, is that correct?
Yeah.
And the defense joins in that, Mr.
They're
Early?
joining us in a
Mr.
second.
Broderick, you have no objection on that? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be in recess until Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. Please remember the admonition, and please remember also not to watch 2020 this week. I understand it's going to be on Friday. You can see how much television I watch. I didn't know which day it was, but I understand it's on Friday night.
He's doing a plug for 2020. He doesn't even realize it. It'll be on Friday night. Make sure you watch and buy your Ovaltine.
So please be careful not to watch that particular show.
Don't watch 2020, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Don't watch it.
And please remember the admonition over this holiday weekend not to discuss the case among yourselves, nor let anyone else discuss it with you, nor form any opinions till it's finally submitted to you. We'll see you Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and I apologize to each and every one of you on behalf of both counsel for your having to get up and come down here this morning, but we just didn't learn about this expeditiously enough to get a hold of you at home. And as you know from past experience, if we can get a hold of you at home, we do try to do that. Have a nice weekend. I'm going to recess.
And Victoria mentions how they heard the suitcase coming down the stairs. Not only did the neighbors hear it, but one of them was on FaceTime, and the girlfriend heard it through the phone. Like, what was that? So yeah, what do you think's more likely? Did they forget what night it was? Were they thinking of the night before when Sarah got drug up the stairs by her hair? Interesting on that. Someone in Reddit, one of the threads I was reading, someone speculated, because Sarah's always lying. So, but the stories come from somewhere. Do you think it's possible that she drug George up the stairs? And that's what they were talking about because of the autopsy interpretation about a subgaleal hematoma. Subgaleal. Anyway, if he had that, consistent with him maybe being drug up the stairs. Good speculation. You got to go to Reddit. Sarah Boone continued for all that kind of gossip and dirt and speculation. It's not mine, it's theirs.
Present. You're still under oath from last week, ma'am. You may proceed, Ms. Wells.
Tuesday.
When we had finished up last week, I had asked you to identify a letter that was sent to you by Mr. Broderick in which he explained to you after the court-ordered support how to take care of your health insurance and your auto insurance and your life insurance, and you didn't want to identify that letter without seeing the first page. Your Honor, may I have marked as People's Exhibit 74?
Oh, so A to B, it's possible. Not this video. Oh, and also, fair warning, I've got to quit this stream because I go to work again tonight. So let's say there's about an hour left in this, because we're about an hour into the raw footage on this stream. And yeah, if I get to bed at just a little afternoon, that's fair. I can do that. So yeah, there's about an hour left in today's stream, and we'll try and watch at least a half hour of video in that time, maybe more. And what was A to B asking just before that too? Oh, and I was telling Addie that Larissa Harris mentioned that there was an incident with Betty being drugged from her cell in her underwear. There was video of it that she had seen. So it's possible that that's the incident they're trying to subpoena. I don't know what bearing it has on this case, but it could be that. And the 2020 episode, that's why I stopped this. Not this video. So we've got this video. We'll watch about the same amount of it tomorrow to get through it. So we'll do a 1 of 2, 2 of 2 for this day of the case. And then the next video that we'll be watching on Wednesday morning. And we'll only be getting halfway through on Wednesday morning. At the end of that video, I think, is the 2020 episode. There's some sort of a documentary, 45 minute, and it's part of this footage, or at least this stream. I'm not going to be able to show it because if it is a 2020, it could be owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, and they've already copyright struck me for 2 minutes of video in a 2.5 hour live stream. I've let it go. In any case, I'm not going to be showing any news footage ever on my channel because of that. But it'll be in the video. So I'll post that link. And if it's the 2020, it's definitely contemporary to the time. So if it's not the 2020, it's interesting. But I think it is the 2020. I think this uploader attached it to the court TV footage because the judge talked about it. And this is on Criminal Conversations with a Z. They're hosting the original court TV footage. That's enough of a housekeeping. We'll try and get through at least, we'll try for 40 minutes. We're 56 minutes into the video now. So if I can get to an hour and 36 minutes, that'll save us exactly half for tomorrow.
Dated December 31st, 19.
Court reporter and prosecutor, outfits match, different court reporter. This does lend theory or credence to my theory that the prosecutor is coordinating wardrobes with the courtroom staff. I think even the evidence lady's wearing a shade of blue. You can see the files there.
1986, to Elizabeth Ann Broderick.
So marked.
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Certainly.
Yeah, Mandy spotted the color match too.
If you could take a look at this complete letter and tell us, is that the letter that you received from Mr. Broderick describing for you how to take care of those things?
coming out hot. No, welcome back. It's been a few days. Prosecutor's not happy. And she got over the flu quick.
I don't remember receiving this. I just don't remember receiving it.
Attached to the letter are some checks that he sent to you as part of your support. Is that not correct?
That's what it looks like.
Okay, and on the back side of those checks is your signature endorsing the checks when you deposited them into your account. Is that not correct?
Right. I would have gotten the checks and I probably got the letter, but I may have gotten it through Bill Hargreaves.
But you
In
did
which
get the
case I
letter.
wouldn't have read it.
You would have just accepted the checks, but you wouldn't have read the letter.
Right.
Okay, but you did get a letter anyway in which Mr. Broderick explained to you how to take care of your health insurance, how to take care of your homeowner's insurance,
Your Honor,
how to take
objection.
care of your auto
Suicide
insurance.
tax not happening. This is an answer.
Sustained on this and answer.
Did it not, you also indicated, you testified that you were never explained that your support was taxable to you, correct? That you were going to have to pay taxes on that.
I still don't know if that's true.
Does it not explain in this letter?
Your Honor, I have an objection. There's been testimony that's been asked and answered about the letter.
Well,
I believe I can,
She can see if she can refresh her recollection to see if she remembers that part of the letter. She's testified that she thinks she got the letter, might have got it from Hargrave. She doesn't remember reading it.
Yes, Your Honor. So all those questions is irrelevant as to reading the letter and then asking her if this is true.
Overall, she's asking if that's in the letter, if that refreshed her recollection. Take a look at it and let her know.
What's the question?
does it refresh your recollection to look at the last paragraph on that page, page 2, and the first paragraph on page 3, wherein it was explained to you that your support payments were taxable to you, and that you should contact an accountant if you had any
Your
questions
Honor,
about that?
I have an objection. This is improper.
Not sustained. Just have her read it to herself and see if she refreshes her recollection.
I don't remember getting this letter, so I don't remember that paragraph.
Obviously, it is fair to say, Mrs. Broderick, that if you received the support payment inside the letter and you deposited that payment, that you received the letter. Is that not true?
I don't know if that's true. I could have gotten it through Mr. Hargreaves at that time. See the date?
Well, explain to me how you're saying you got the letter through Mr. Hargreaves. How does that make a difference about whether or not you received it?
I
Your
wouldn't have
Honor,
read it.
objection
I didn't
is
read it.
argumentative. She's already answered. She doesn't remember the letter.
Sustained.
I'm simply asking if you can, I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm asking if you can explain how you would have gotten this letter with the support included and not have read it.
Your Honor,
That's
objection
easy. I didn't
is
want to read
argumentative.
this stuff.
Also
Sustained. She just doesn't know if she read it.
Just so that it's clear, what you're saying is you received the letter.
I don't even know if I received it. It may have gone to Bill Hargreaves' office. I may have gone down and picked up the checks from Bill Hargreaves. And if he gave it to me, I didn't read it.
Is it addressed to Elizabeth Ann Broderick at 8320 Calle de Cielo?
Yes, but at this time,
Your Honor, I'm just going to object. It's argumentative.
Overruled.
Calle de Cielo.
You also indicated that right after the court ordered support in January of 1987, when Tricia Smith took over the case, that Dan Broderick was immediately playing games with you, that he wasn't paying his support, and that he was waiting until the end of the month to pay the support, correct?
that's my recollection the first month. And then we had to rewrite the court order.
Your Honor, may I have marked as People's Exhibit 75, a series of 12 statements written by Dan Broderick, addressed to Elizabeth Broderick,
So marked.
with checks attached to each one. If you would take a look at this first letter dated January the 30th. Is that not a letter that was sent to you by Dan Broderick about your support, including your support check?
That's what it looks like, yes.
And it's dated January 30th.
Right.
And it indicates the amount of support the balance of the amount of support that he was due to you that month, correct?
Right.
And attached to that is a check totaling that amount.
You mean three or four checks totaling?
Totaling the amount
That he's
of the
supposed to
balance
get,
that
right.
was due to you.
Right.
And you deposited those checks in your account, did you not?
I remember probably.
If you would look at the attached deposit slip, where you deposited those checks in your account. Can you tell us the date that you deposited those checks in your account?
February 2nd.
So you received this letter, or it was mailed to you on January 30th, and you deposited on February 2nd, 1987,
Right.
correct? If you would take a look at the next letter that's dated March 4th, 1987, is that not also a statement from Dan Broderick regarding your support that he paid to you on March 4th, 1987?
Yes, but where's the February check? See, something's wrong here.
Excuse me, Mrs. Broderick. The first statement, this represents court-ordered support for the month of February 1987. It was sent January 30th. It was deposited February 2nd. On March 4th, the check was sent to you. There's a deposit slip attached. Can you tell us what the date is of your deposit?
March 6th.
On April 2nd, 1987, a letter sent to you. Is this not a letter sent to you regarding the amount due for the month of April 1987?
Yes,
And attached is the check that you endorsed and the deposit slip. What's the date of the deposit?
April 3rd.
It was sent April 2nd, it was deposited April 3rd, correct?
Right.
On May 1st, did you not receive a letter for the month of May with the support that was due to you that month, a statement of the support that was due?
There was only 1 month where we had this problem.
Well, excuse me, I don't believe that was your testimony, but let me just go through this. When you deposited that amount, what's the date of the deposit?
May 4th. There was only 1 month, and Tricia Smith had to rewrite the court order, and then he complied to the new court order. My complaint was we had to rewrite the court order because there was a loophole that did not say that it was due and payable on the first of the month.
Did you not, Mrs. Broderick, testify that he was playing games with you and not paying his support all during 1987, and he was making you wait and wait until the end of the month?
No, that was 1 month in the beginning because of this loophole, and Tricia Smith had to rewrite the court order, and she was very bothered about that.
Well, let's just go through the rest of these, just so that we
It's a waste of time.
Overruled. Go ahead.
On June 2nd, did he
It's a
not send
waste.
you?
Your Honor, I'm being distracted horribly. There was an order about cameras without.
Yeah, could you pull down the noise? Go ahead.
Oh, the camera guy was clicking. Oh, that's another interesting thing about the prosecutor. And we'll bring it into a full shot here of Betty. The prosecutor, because of this case particularly, is adamant about no cameras in courtrooms and never allowed it as a
Is there
judge.
not a statement for the month of June 1987, including a check for the support that he owed you?
Right.
And when did you deposit that check?
June 4th.
It was sent on June 2nd and you deposited it June 4th, is that correct?
It says.
Statement for July 2nd, including an accounting and the checks that were due to you for support, were deposited on July 8th by you, is that correct?
Oh no, that's a Betty on Betty. I'll show you the transition here.
Statement sent to you on July 31st for the month of August of 1987, with a check written by Dan Broderick and deposited by you on what day?
Could you reread my testimony because I testified to this correctly, and you're trying to say that I was lying, and I wasn't lying.
You can't ask her questions, Mrs. Rodriguez.
Okay, what's the question?
My only question of you is when was that August
August 4th.
support check deposited by you in your account?
August 4th.
Statement dated September 4th for the month of September with a check included. When was that deposited by you?
September 8th.
Statement dated October 2nd, 1987 with a check, the balance for you. When was that deposited?
October 5th.
Statement dated November 2nd, 1987 with the check included. When was that deposited for you?
11/4.
Statement dated December 2nd, 1987 with the check included. And when was that deposited?
12/7.
Your Honor, I would like the record to reflect that the total amount of payments in these checks, including the payment on her mortgage on the Calle de Cielo house, was $190,000, $926.
I'm going to object until we start bringing in the
Well,
income of.
excuse me, it's best evidence, the documents speak for themselves.
Is it not true, Mrs. Broderick, that in the year of 1987, after the court ordered support of $16,000, that Dan Broderick paid every cent that he was ordered by the court to pay, and he paid it in the first week of every month of that year?
It's not my recollection in the beginning. In that first month, he played with us somehow, and I had to have the court order redone because of this little loophole. That's my recollection. But he was court ordered to pay that money, so he had no choice. But he filed an appeal because he didn't want to pay it.
Is it not true, Mrs. Broderick, that he paid every cent that he was ordered to pay by the court, and he paid it in the first week, and you deposited it in the first week of every month?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe it's December of.
Are you challenging these deposit slips?
I have the diaries. If I can consult the diary, I'll tell you what happened there because that's where I remember it. It's in the diaries. And it's from Tricia Smith. I remember that she had to rewrite a court order that it was due and payable on the first of the month.
I'm going to offer those in evidence, Your Honor, at this point.
What do you want to offer them at this point?
I just want to offer them in evidence.
Any objection?
Your Honor, in front of the jury, if we're going to play games, I also at this point want to offer,
Your Honor,
I
this is
also-
ridiculous.
Just a minute.
and I want to offer these.
Mr.
Your Honor.
Early.
Instead of mark.
Just-
Oh,
let's
this is
play
the
these
fight.
games now.
Mr.
Let's
Early,
get the diaries marked so the jury can hear the whole truth.
Mr. Early, knock it off. Just
Knock
calm
it
down
off.
for a minute.
Second
You object
time.
to People 74.
At this point in time, Your Honor, until everything can be
Do you-
heard, I object.
All right, objection sustained. That's all I asked you. No speeches. Go ahead.
Okay, that
Your
was.
Honor, I would ask that you would give the same admonition to the district.
I would ask that you give the same admonition. Mom, you tell her that she's been bad too. You can't just tell me I've been bad. We're going back and watching that. It's too good. Like a double hissy fit. Betty loves it. I bet the judge didn't move from this spot during this whole thing too.
You want to offer them at this point?
I just want to offer them in evidence.
Any objection?
Your Honor, in front of the jury, if we're going to play games, I also at this point want to offer,
Your Honor,
I
this is
also-
ridiculous.
Just a minute.
and I want to offer these.
Mr.
Your Honor.
Early,
Let's set them marked,
just a
and let's
minute,
play
Mr.
these games now.
Mr.
Let's
Early,
get the diaries marked so the jury can hear the whole truth.
Mr. Early, knock it off. Just calm down for a minute. You object to people 74.
At this point in time, Your Honor, until everything can be
Do you-
heard, I object.
All right, objection sustained. That's all I asked you. No speeches. Go ahead.
Well, Your Honor, I would ask that you would give the same admonition to the district attorney.
All she did was offer one exhibit, Mr. Early.
We had discussed that that would be done at the end of the case, Your Honor, not.
I asked you if you objected. All I wanted to know was your position. You stated it. I ruled. Go ahead, Ms. Wells.
When you talked last week, Mrs. Broderick, about the instances of physical contact that you had with Miss Broderick, excuse me, the black eye that you described, the skiing, was that something that you were still angry about on November the 5th, 1989?
No.
Was that something that had anything to do with what you did on November the 5th, 1989?
I mean, those specific things, no.
Hey, kitten pusher.
Did they have
Welcome.
anything to do with your state of mind that morning? Were you thinking about what he had done to you back during that skiing incident? Did that have anything to do with your state of mind that morning?
Not in particular and specifically, but in general, I thought he was a monster on that morning. So all of those sorts of things contributed to it.
And is that why you killed him on that morning, because you thought he was a monster?
No.
It is true, and you've testified, I believe already, that at the time of the separation in 1985 and 1986, even up through 1987, that you would have willingly and happily stayed married to him if you'd had the opportunity to, correct?
In 86 and 87?
Let's just stay with 1985 when the separation
85.
occurred.
Let's
Absolutely, yes.
just stay in 85.
And you have indicated to reporters, for example, that you definitely wanted to have him as your husband, and you wanted to have him as your children's father.
I wanted to keep our family intact, yes.
I asked you about a trip prior to separation about whether or not you had taken a cruise to the Bahamas, and you indicated no. It was a cruise to Bermuda that you took, correct?
Several years before separation, yes.
Okay. So there was a cruise to Bermuda in 1981 or 1982,
Yes.
and the trip to Cancun, as well as the 3 trips to Europe.
Right.
Now, it is true in 1985, after the separation, when Dan Broderick moved back into the Coral Reef house, that you did vandalize the Coral Reef house.
Yes.
And there was a series of vandalisms that occurred over there. For example, in June of 1985. You smashed the telephone answering machine, you broke a large mirrored closet door, you smashed a hole in the bedroom wall, you spray painted the walls of the bedroom and the bathroom, the walls of the family room, the curtains in the family room, the brick fireplace with black Rust-Oleum paint, correct?
No, those have never been correct, and those are the things I corrected in the file in 1985 or 6.
Well, you
Every-
did spray paint the house. You've already admitted that you spray painted the house.
I remember ruining some wallpaper, but as far as those other things, nobody ever did those things. Those things never happened.
Oh,
When you say you remember ruining some wallpaper, how was it that you ruined the wallpaper?
With the spray paint.
So
I
you did
painted the
spray-
wallpaper that he put up.
Okay, and so you went to the house and you spray painted the wallpaper.
I ruined the wallpaper, right?
And what words did you write with your spray paint?
No words.
In October, you took the Boston cream pie and you smeared it all over the bedspread, the carpet, the mirror in the bathroom, 10 or 12 sweaters or shirts.
No, see, that's Dan's exaggeration again. I've already described it with a little tiny
2
cake. It
shirts.
couldn't possibly have been, done that much damage. It's no way.
And your testimony is that you just smushed it on his bed
Yes,
and that no one in the house was upset by your conduct at the time?
I didn't remember that. I heard some babysitter say that Lee was upset, but I've spoken to Lee since, and she said she wasn't upset at all. She thought it was funny.
I can't keep doing that.
On October 19th, 1985, you threw 2 bottles of wine through a large window. You shattered a sliding glass door up into the television set, broke the cover on the stereo, smashed 2 lamps.
I threw the bottles through the window on that Saturday morning when Dan took Rhett away, but that's all I did. The rest of the stuff is lies, always has been.
On November the 3rd, you broke a large picture window with an umbrella.
No,
You didn't break that with the umbrella?
there's no other broken window. There was only the one with the champagne bottle.
Well, you didn't recall breaking the window at the Coral
Hello,
Reef house either. when You went over
babe.
there to burn the carpet until you were shown the photographs, correct?
No, I didn't.
And when you were shown the photographs that you had broken the window, then you remembered that you had broken it.
No,
right?
I don't really remember being there, no.
So you still don't remember the fact that you broke the sliding glass door at Coral Reef when you went over there that day?
No, but I'll believe I did it.
So it is true that there are some things that you've done in the past that were vandalism that you don't recall.
If you're saying those things are things I did that I don't recall, those are not things that anybody did. Those are the personal injury attorney's way of expounding on minor things.
On December 19th, 1985, you entered the Coral Reef house and tore the wrapping paper off of Christmas presents that had been purchased for the children. You shattered a mirror hanging in the hallway. You slammed the front door with such force that it punched a hole in the wall.
Lies.
Lies.
You've already admitted that you did rip the wrappers off the Christmas presents.
But all that other stuff is just lies.
Okay, so you went in and you ripped the presents off of
I don't really
the wrapping off of the Christmas presents, but the rest of it is not true.
remember doing that either. I mean, I don't really remember that, but I know that those big violent things that he's claiming nobody ever did. Those things never happened. There were not holes in walls and doors off hinges and things. Nobody
Do you
did those.
remember
Nobody
ripping
was
the
unhinged.
wrappers off the presents?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Do you remember testifying the last time when you testified that you remember doing that?
I could have done that. I mean, that's not
So you could
something
have done a
real
lot of these
violent.
things, but you're not remembering them now.
I could have, but I don't think I did.
Yeah, and earlier her bottle testimony was like, I threw it. It didn't break.
It is true that Mr. Broderick asked you on
You
many
don't
occasions
understand.
during that period of time to please stop vandalizing the house, that it was upsetting the children.
That's just how me and Dan
He did
were.
ask you many times to please stop, didn't he?
Well, I don't remember him talking to me. I was mad because he had Linda in the house with the kids.
Do you recall last time testifying that you remembered that he asked you verbally many times
No,
to stop, and your
I'm
response
sure
was?
he did. I'm sure he did, but I don't remember him asking. I don't remember him talking to me during that time, which is part of the problem.
Didn't you say last time when you testified, when you were asked, didn't he ask you, please, many times to stop the vandalism? Didn't you say yes, but he wouldn't stop having Linda Kokina over?
That's probably what I said, right?
So as far as you were concerned, if he had Linda Kokina over, it was okay for you to do the vandalism.
That was my house, and he was lying about Linda during those times when most of these things happened. He was still lying. In December, he wasn't lying anymore, but I didn't like Linda. I was mad about all the lies and everything.
I think that's a given, and you therefore felt that you could vandalize the house, correct?
Well, it didn't follow like that.
Didn't he, then when you wouldn't stop after he'd asked you verbally, didn't he write you a letter and ask you please to stop the vandalism because of what it was doing to the children?
I don't know, maybe.
May I have marked here under his People's Exhibit 75? Six. A letter dated November the 4th, 1985.
So Mark.
If you could read the last paragraph on the first page to yourself, please, to see if that refreshes your recollection about whether or not he'd asked you many.
I'm going to read a couple comments from chat just while Betty's reading her own diaries. The prosecutor looks on unapprovingly. Pause it out here. Maybe you see. Starts. Fine. Keep reading. Kitten Pusher says, it's really too bad that Betty didn't play the long game. I understand her rage, but she should have expressed it by fighting hard for money. These small acts of vandalism gained her nothing. And Kelly responds, Kitten, she probably would have been very successful if even a fraction of her claims were true. And that's the really sad thing is that, you see people who were testifying against her in the trial, but was a mutual friend of hers and Dan's, and they testify fairly well of her beforehand. I think that's one of the striking differences between Betty and Sarah is that, she had friends. She had a whole life. There's no reason that she needed to throw everything away in, this revenge fantasy, this, destroy myself and bring everyone down with me. I'm, setting the scorched earth. Like, it doesn't matter who gets caught in the wake. And it's so short-sighted. Like, obviously we can look now and see that she's in jail or prison and, will be until she's 84 years old for her next parole hearing, which, prospects don't look good for her suddenly gaining remorse or even being able to convey it convincingly enough after her last hearing. So the lesson is, find the things that make you happy. And when life gives you shit, find a way to do the things that make you happy. Like, if you've got a guy that's no good and nearly as awful as Betty says, get away. And you find as many ways that you can spend as little time thinking about them as possible. And I think, in some twisted sense, she probably thought that the murder was going to make her like, I just can't deal with it anymore. This is it. It's come to this. But she's got to realize, she realized very quickly she didn't feel satisfied. She felt, oh, fuck. Oh, I better drive away. Anyway, the lesson is, don't get caught up in the chase for money. Even if you're, something's entitled, fight for it, fight legally for it. By all means, don't just give up, but don't get so caught up that you're doing stuff to hurt yourself just to even a score that you could even so many other ways. That's the message for today's live stream.
Now, what's the question?
Does that refresh your recollection?
I'm not done with it yet.
Excuse me, Mrs. Broderick, I asked you to read.
I'm
the
not done
last
with it
paragraph
yet.
To see if that refreshes your recollection about whether or not he had asked you on many occasions to please stop the vandalism because of what it was doing to the children.
It doesn't say that there.
I'm asking you if that refreshes your recollection at all about whether or not he asked you that. It's yes or no.
That doesn't say anything like that. You must be in the wrong paragraph or something.
I certainly don't mind if you come over to pick
Your
up
Honor,
the kids or some of your
That doesn't
possessions.
say anything
Sustained.
about the children.
Stan, just,
Did he not? Does this, I guess you haven't answered my question yet. Does it refresh your recollection at all about whether or not he asked you to stop the animal?
It refreshes my recollection about a lot of things, about threats.
Ma'am, can you
about
please?
court
Mrs.
order.
Broderick, just
No.
answer her question, yes or
No.
no. The answer is no, that's fine.
Does he not ask you to please keep the animosity to a minimum? That you're making it very
Bernice is
difficult?
keeping the squirrels fed.
Is that in the last paragraph that you asked me? No, it's not, is it? No, it's not. Please say that it's not, right? You're wrong.
I would really like to keep the stress and animosity to a minimum.
Just a minute.
She's,
Well, she's asked a legitimate question, Ms. Wall. I don't know if it's in the last paragraph or not. She's saying it's not.
okay. Does it say in the last paragraph? I would really like to keep the stress and animosity to a minimum, but you are making that very difficult.
Yes, but it doesn't say anything about the children.
Yeah, I agree, YT. I think, based off of how she went to the last
May I have
hearing,
another letter marked, Your Honor, as People's Exhibits?
even if she tries like a really, I'll tell you everything you want to hear, it's going to fly so much in the face of what she did at the last hearing that at the very best at a parole hearing, I could see them getting like, okay, well, you said it, now walk the talk. Spend the next 2 years volunteering, doing all the things that you would do if you were outside of jail. We'll give you the programs that let you do it. 84 to 86, right? It's a hard time to be embarking in a, prove yourself regimen. So at the very best, I think she might get, the minimum review period rather than the maximum. But, at this point, the next review period could be a death sentence if her current one isn't already.
77, dated July 21st, 1986.
So marked.
Hello, not my lover. Welcome back. I haven't seen you in the chats for a while either. Hello, baby. This is a 1991 trial. The current news is that she is still in jail. She's in prison. Her next parole hearing is 2032. The reason I'm watching this is you can thank Winterlake if you see her in the chats or the comments. Winterlake once asked, is there anyone as audacious as Sarah Boone claiming alimony while she's in prison for murder? And I thought that's a really good question. So I started looking up, audacious alimony people. And Betty Broderick came up in those searches, not because she was asking for alimony, because Dan's dead, right? What she did do is, after the murders, claim that Dan hadn't paid for the previous 2 months to his murder. And, quite apart from the murder, she's owed those 2 months, right? And there's even question to that. Like there's, I think, accountants on Dan's side that says he paid it. But still, audacious. So that brought me to her. And then I started doing more research because this trial happened when I was in high school. I wasn't paying attention, doing my own thing. So I didn't really, see the significance of it. My mom was watching it more than I was at that time. But now 35 years have passed. I'm a little bit more familiar with trials. And the more I saw of the early footage of Betty, I was like, oh, okay. So this is someone with all of Sarah's arguments that has a legitimate, claim to them. Like she has been wronged. She, the world has conspired against her. I wonder, I'll find out more about the case. And then I found this series of videos that has the original court TV footage. And in the first hour of the opening arguments from the prosecutor, I was like, oh, well, she's bad. She's not a good person. And I thought that turned, like how quickly I went on the roller coaster of super empathetic to hold your horses, Dan, made me think that this might be a fun case for people that watch Sarah Boone, because there's so many similarities and yet such stark differences. Like she's had jobs, she's done things, she's taken family on field trips foremost. But 2 murders, both Dan and his new wife, who was also the one who broke up her marriage. So not an innocent wife, but still innocent, shouldn't have been killed. But a fascinating case. A fascinating case we're only going to watch about 15 more minutes of in today's stream, because it's time for bed soon. But be back tomorrow, same time, 9:30 a.m. California Chino time. We will be doing the second half of this video. Let's just return to that. I'll check the comments while we listen to Betty.
This one-page letter, Mrs. Broderick, and see if that refreshes your recollection about whether or not you requested that you stopped the vandalism or the bad mouthing
Oh no, I haven't been on.
because of what it was doing to the children?
Okay, good. I thought I was on mute for all of that. Kelly asked said she was frozen, and I was like, oh no, the screen's frozen. Just you, maybe refresh. Trying to pop
What was the
myself.
question?
Does that refresh your recollection about whether or not he had made requests to you to please stop bad mouthing him, saying,
I'd really like to see these
putting the kids
journals.
in the middle of the divorce?
This is after the bifurcation. He says that. It's kind of pathetic, but yes.
Bad mouthing one another to the kids, or even worse, blaming them for the divorce is destructive. I suggest that each of us encourage the kids to love and respect the other.
Sustained.
I'm asking her, I want to ask her what she thinks is so pathetic about this, Judge. She just said it was pathetic.
Well, then
That he
ask
sent the
them.
children out of town for the summer and he went in and got the forcible sole custody, no visitation, and a final divorce without any attempt on his part at all to settle any issues. And then he sends me a letter like I should be careful about what's happening to the children.
When he sent the children, bring back up, when he sent the children to camp, of course, going to camp was something that they did every summer,
They
right?
weren't at camp on July 16th, 86. They were in Ohio at his parents'.
They'd gone to visit his parents and then they went to camp. And that wasn't anything that was particularly unusual. They went to camp every summer, didn't they?
Not particularly every summer,
Well,
no.
they'd gone to camp for several summers in a row.
Some of them had, yes, some of them
Okay.
had.
And at this time, you had been doing vandalism, you had been using the bad words. There was a recommendation by the psychologist that maybe it would be helpful for these kids to get them out of town for a while because of all of the animosity that you were expressing. Isn't that true?
I wouldn't know that.
I'm gonna object as soon as that's not happening.
Sustained.
You didn't have any discussions at all with Mr. Broderick about whether it wouldn't be a good idea to get the kids out of the middle of this for a while,
Mr. Broderick would not discuss anything with me.
okay?
The children
Excuse
told me things. The children told me that he was sending them out of town because he was going into court that was going to do something that was going to enrage your mother. So he wanted to hide them, and they
Okay,
didn't
we'll-
want to
we'll-
go.
We'll talk about the bifurcation in a minute. When you would not stop the vandalism or stop using the bad words, which you admitted you didn't stop, he did attempt to, well, first to serve you with a restraining order and then ultimately to serve you with an order of contempt, correct?
What year are you in, please?
1986. In January of 1986, did he not attempt to serve you with some process regarding a contempt hearing, and you called him up and told him that he better get the process server out of there or you were gonna kill him, kill the kids, and burn the houses down?
I don't remember saying I was going to kill him and kill the kids. That's again Dan's words and Dan's letter. But I was absolutely hysterical that there were more papers coming to my front door. I had felt barraged, and I
In January of 1986, how many papers had you received?
don't know, but I was hysterical. And I said, "You get the dogs away from my front door. You're crazy. Get these people away from me." I was scared to death.
January of 1986, let's 1985. We'll look at your own exhibits here. First of all, the first part of the year 1985, you hadn't received any papers, right?
There's nothing filed until October.
In September of in the second half of 1985, you were served with the dissolution papers. You were served with a restraining order.
This is kind of a
and you were
Mr. J.
served with
James
an
Owens
OSC raise
moment.
contempt. Those are the only things that you were served with. Is that the barrage of papers that you're talking about?
Well, I was also served with all of these threatening letters from Dan.
So Jack Early had those poster boards, and you can't really see them with the contrast to the cameras today, but he spent a lot of time on one of the previous streams stipulating to all of the different court hearings that Betty had to attend regarding her divorce. And just like James Owens brought in these big poster boards of Sarah's black eye, the prosecutor went over to those boards and is like, isn't it true that these are really the only things you had to deal with out of all these things on the board? A long established tradition of using the opponent's exhibits against them.
Broderick. So to me, they were kind of the same thing.
Okay, well, let's get back to whether or not this is a threatening letter then. Dear Elizabeth Ann, you and I are no longer married. It is now up to us to do our best to minimize the trauma.
I'm gonna object as a form of question.
I want it,
Well, she wants to ask her if what in there she considered a threat. I assume that's where you're going.
that's correct, Your Honor. It's only 2 paragraphs.
Well, I believe that she has a right to show it to her and ask what's threatening.
Show it to her and ask her. Has she seen that one?
Yes,
Which one are you holding up just for me? People
People
77?
77.
Go ahead.
It is now up to us to do our best to minimize the trauma our divorce will have on our kids and see that they are as happy and secure, see that they have as happy and secure a childhood as possible under the circumstances. Is there a threat in that paragraph to
The
you?
very first sentence just drove me absolutely crazy. You and I are no longer married. That's what he kept saying. We're finally, completely, absolutely, totally divorced. He never wanted to see or hear or speak to me again. And then he goes on to say in his platitudes that we ought to make it easy and nice for the kids now. And I'm going, what are you doing? I mean, it's the bifurcation. It's years into this thing.
She didn't care if the court reporter, she's like, you know how to translate by now.
And I've gotten absolutely no satisfaction out of him in any regard. The children, the phone, the money, anything. And he sends me that typical cold-hearted lawyer letter. We are no longer married. Now let's make sure the kids are having fun.
Well, this was July of 1986. It
After
was
the
true
bifurcation.
that it had been over a year since you'd been separated. And
Well
it was
over a year.
true that you were no longer married, correct?
Yes, thanks to his handling of the situation, yes, that is technically true.
Well, it is true. He filed for a divorce.
That's right.
He wanted the divorce,
That's right.
and you were divorced.
That's right.
And what is the threat that's in that first paragraph?
The first-
Sustained.
Bad-mouthing one another to the kids, or even worse, blaming them for the divorce is destructive. I suggest that each of us encourage the kids to love and respect the other, and that we refrain from any derogatory comments to or about one another. What is the threat that's in there?
That he is making, do you see anything in there that he wants to come to a conclusion about the children or the money or anything with me? No. He is in total control of everything. And that is a letter to me saying that it's now my responsibility to make sure that the children don't hear naughty names from me and that the children are happy about this. And
Okay,
putting all
and
that
you just-
responsibility on me at that point.
Okay.
I would have expected a letter at that point of, we're finally divorced, let's make some sort of a settlement, let's get on with our lives. That's what I wanted in a
And
letter
you
at
don't
that
think
point.
that's what he was saying in this?
I know that's not what he
It
said,
would have
no.
been better for him to say, we are finally divorced, instead of you and I are no longer married? Is there a difference
No,
in that?
that letter doesn't say, let's make an attempt to settle this at all. It doesn't mention that at all. It just says,
Henceforth, I will do anything I can on this score for the kids' sake, and I hope you will do the same. He's talking about the kids, not the divorce, the kids, right?
Apparently he's doing
what does
very
that
well
mean?
in prison.
Henceforth, he will do anything. He wouldn't speak to me. He wouldn't let me see them. He wouldn't let me talk on the phone to him.
Are you
Henceforth,
saying in
I will
July
do
of
anything. He wouldn't
1986?
do anything.
Are you saying in July of 1986 you weren't seeing the kids?
I always saw the kids. He'd have
Okay.
to kill me to keep me away from those kids.
Back to when the Knox Attorney Service tried to serve you with an order.
Yeah, that's a good point, Disney
You
Mom.
wouldn't receive the
and
order, you
that's
wouldn't open up the door, you did call up Dan
one of the
Rodgers,
ways
you
that I can
threatened
have
them,
the
told them to
most-
get them-
I'm
get
gonna
them away,
pause
or
it
that
here.
you killed-
One of the ways I can have the most empathy for Betty is imagining an Alex Murdaugh type as her husband. And when I picture that, it's a lot easier to picture how the system could be stacked against someone like her. How she, would have an expectation of, high society because of being married to a guy like Alex Murdaugh, only to find out that, what he does to people if you're on the wrong side of him. And I'm not saying that Dan is anything like Alex Murdaugh, but just that that's an example where what Betty's saying actually, like, okay, that wouldn't be crazy if somebody had dated him or, was married to him and then had this story that Betty's saying. Wouldn't be crazy to think that he was capable of all those things. So, we're not going to try Dan because he's dead, despite the fact, there is some mutual, like the marriage wasn't a marriage made in heaven. But that's a lens to it's the best lens where I get a little bit of empathy towards Betty, thinking I can see how that sort of a relationship in a small enough circle, you'd feel trapped and just feel like every time you think that you're, one step closer, you're actually two steps back because he's pulling the rug on you. And, again, it doesn't justify the end. I would much rather live a Buddhist style life and have very few possessions and not care about any of that bullshit. But extending her as much grace as I possibly can, that's the lens that helps get me there.
The kids kill him, burn the houses down, correct?
That's what he says. I said, I know, I was scared to death and absolutely hysterical, and I wanted him to call off the dogs.
Well, you have threatened before to kill Dan and the kids.
And so the 16,000, I would, I could still live off of that now. Forget about being, current day's money of near 50 grand. 16 grand would be enough for me to live off comfortably for the rest of my life. Like if I won one of those lotteries that, was set for life and it was 16 grand a month. Well, I wouldn't be doing my job. I could be doing this full time, and I am doing this full time, but I wouldn't have to worry about where the income came in. But in her defense, so forget about Alex Murdaugh. Let's say she was married to Steve Jobs, put in, the sweat equity in the early years while he's building his computers. Then just as, Mac is getting somewhere, he says, you know what, I bought out your share of the company, doubled what you gave me, you'll get 16 grand a month for the next 10, 15 years. Meanwhile, Mac goes on to sell billions of dollars of stuff, and you wouldn't be happy with 16 grand, even though I would be happy with 16 grand. It gets to the problem of entitlement, and, there's a certain level of fight for what you deserve, but don't fight that hard. Like, just fight for it. And somebody mentioned, I can't remember who, but about playing the long game. If she had a legitimate claim to it, she could have kept appealing up and maybe gotten out of that fishbowl, but she was so short-sighted and trying to win every single battle she was in that she made it very easy for Dan to put her on a path of self-destruction, if indeed that's what he did. She helped him out so much with her own actions.
Never threatened to kill the kids. I know he says that, but I've never threatened ever to kill the kids.
Do you remember when you were at Claremont Hospital after driving the car through the door? Patient readily admits that she had threatened to kill her husband, children, and self in the past. Did you readily admit that you had done that at Claremont Hospital?
I said I probably, have said things like that, but when particularly asked, I've never threatened the children at all, ever.
Well, when you say I would have probably said that.
Well, I
but when
almost agreed to it
particularly
when you
asked-
just said it. I said a lot of things when I was mad and stuff, not meaning any of them. But
Okay.
I don't
So-
think I ever threatened the children.
And you were mad when the Knox Attorney Service was attempting to serve you with a contempt order. And so it is possible that you told Dan that you were going to kill the kids, you were going to.
And that's totally fair, not my lover. I'm trying to be the host that's given everyone else stuff to think about, so don't take my speculation as gospel as much as conversation starters. But I just see this as a slightly different trial to be watching than the typical, like, awful person, hate on this person, make jokes, and I love doing that. But I think, 98% of the trials are kind of like that. And this one is just a little bit more nuanced to me, where even if I don't buy her rationale, I'm interested by some of her arguments, and, I can give credence to some of her tales of woe, but not justification. And, I still think the jury made the right decision and the parole boards made the right decision. So got about 5-6 minutes left of raw video. We'll wait for a natural breaking point, and then we'll join this tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. California Chino time.
Killed him, you were going to burn the house down.
I was not mad. I was terrified. I was scared. I was alone. I had no way to defend myself against him. I was
She
not
drove a car through a door, and also allegedly when with her kids in the house, Dan came out, tried to pull her out of the car, and she attacked him with a butcher knife, is the story.
mad. I was scared.
This was a process server who was knocking on the door to serve you with a piece of paper.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, here we go, emotional Betty. You've been holding out on this all day today.
And Dan Broderick did call the process server up, didn't he? He called him, he got in touch with him, and he
Well,
told
let's take a break here. No, I'm just kidding.
him not to do it.
Yes, he did.
And the vandalism continued. The restraining order didn't work. The asking you not to do it didn't work. The attempting to serve you
Where are
with
you
a
now?
contempt
Where
order
are you?
after January of 1986. In February of 1986, that's when you went over and drove the car through the front door, correct?
Okay.
And that's when you tried to go over to Coral Reef and burn the house down and smash the sliding glass door, correct?
I'm
In February of
confused.
86?
Totally confused. But that letter was just July of 86. So now we're going backwards?
When the Knox Attorney Service attempted to serve you, it was January of 1986.
Okay. So from there, okay.
And he wasn't able to serve you with any papers. He wasn't able to serve you with any attempted contempt action to go to court, and the vandalism did continue.
Yeah, when I'm scared, Charles Grieve says that he just drives into the front door of houses. I prefer to go upstairs and read a book.
Yes,
Is now the knocking into his door what you're referring to as the vandalism?
yes.
Well, I don't consider that vandalism.
He did,
And
hello
that's a
baby,
different
or
house,
not
and
in
he
San
moved
Diego.
it.
They grew up in Massachusetts. Went to, but they did grow up in high society, and Dan went to Cornell for med school and got his law degree from Harvard.
No, the vandalism as such in Coral Reef did not continue. They moved out.
They're now in Cyprus, and the
Yes.
driving through to the front door was at Cyprus, correct?
Yes.
And in January of 1986, when we were talking about, they were already in Cyprus, living in Cyprus.
I think so. Sometime in January 86.
And you did continue, or you began at that point, leaving the messages on his machine. That's when he put the message machine, answering machine at his house, correct?
Probably.
It was, again, that summer that you complained that Dan sent the children to camp, correct?
You're doing a great job of reminding me about.
Are you trying to make it worse? Oh, thank you, Betty. That was a perfect pause. We're going to go back and watch 20 seconds of that. Candace says, I watched Reading after you mentioned it last week. That episode made Betty much less sympathetic. And that proves my point. I'm trying to bring out different conversations in the chat. So, yeah, don't hold me to any particular opinion as much as I see opinions being advocated for in chat. I've always enjoyed debating, and it's never been a matter of me having a side. Like, one of the cool things about proper structured debating is you often don't know whether you're arguing pro or anti for the argument until you go into the debate. So you need to know both sides of the argument. You need to be able to convincingly advocate for both sides of an argument. And I think just that process makes you a lot more open to receiving information, because you know you might have to defend something you don't believe in. And because of that, you need to, well, if I have to defend it, what facts do I actually believe in? And you start looking for facts that go against your own opinion just so that you can do well in the argument. But you're a more well-rounded person as a result of seeking out contrary information to what you already believe. So I think it's a great exercise, and that's what I'm trying to bring to the chat on this one, because I do see a variety of opinions, as opposed to with Sarah Boone, we all have similar opinions, so I try and capture that with snark and sass in a short that can make you smile. But with this, I think there's more to be gained through thoughtful discussion, and then we can go back to mockery on our next true crime victim. We'll watch 2 or 3 more minutes of this, and I'll rewind it by 20 seconds so we can watch this emotional arc.
Answering machine at his house, correct?
Probably.
It was, again, that summer that you complained that Dan sent the children to camp, correct?
You're doing a great job of reminding me about all of this stuff. Because I was absolutely, as we get it in order and it all comes back the way it was, yeah, he moved to Cyprus. And yeah, he put this telephone machine on so I couldn't reach my kids. And yeah, he had the restraining order. But he wasn't doing anything to make peace or get an agreement or to see that I saw the kids at all.
Okay.
So, you're trying to.
Excuse me, Mrs. Broderick, thank you. You've answered the question. Well, perhaps it'd be Appropriate to take a break, Your Honor, so the witness can compose herself.
Do you want to break, Ms. Broderick?
No, I'm fine.
Please help you. Ms. Broderick?
I have something,
Okay,
thank you.
okay.
Ooh.
So she doesn't need a break, go ahead.
Oh, wow. This is what fascinates me with Betty. Sarah was so messy trying to achieve this. Betty, I think, is really channeling emotions, like whether they're like she's channeling it from a place of memory of, from feeling sad, but she's got authentic feelings that are coming through. But at the same time, it's manipulative. You can tell she's managing it because of how quickly she's able to cycle. And, not to degrade manipulating, we all do it. But she's good at it, right? She's able to convey what she's thinking about in the moment quite well. The only thing that gives her away is how quickly it transforms. 34, we'll go back again.
Saw the kids at all.
Okay.
So, you're trying to,
Excuse me, Mrs. Broderick, thank you. You've answered the question. Well, perhaps it'd be appropriate to take a break, Your Honor, so the witness can compose herself.
Do you want to break, Ms. Broderick?
no, I'm fine.
So she goes from, I'm holding it, I'm holding on to it. And then the minute that the prosecutor suggests maybe the witness needs a break, seems a little emotional. No, I'm not emotional.
Please help you. Ms. Broderick?
This is where I think it's authentic, because it wasn't just a little dab. That was a big messy, there's tears and I'm wiping them away because I don't want you to see them. So that part, that to me looks authentic. Like that's a little bit messy, like a person who got emotional. I never get emotional, but she is.
Broderick?
I have something,
Okay,
thank you.
okay. She just.
And then that look is totally, she's gotten right past, even if it was authentic emotion or channeled emotion, doesn't matter. She's able to get right past it because now it's daggers to the prosecutor. Ask your next question. Go ahead. Make it worse.
She doesn't need a break, go ahead.
We'll watch all that in real time because I talked it all down, but 134.08.
She doesn't need a break, go ahead.
It was after you drove the car through the front door when Kim and Lee were home, and it was after you began leaving the messages on the answering machine in 1986 when the psychologist again recommended that the children perhaps would be better off if they got out of town, correct?
How would I know any of that? No psychologist ever spoke to me.
Are you saying Dr. Sparta never spoke to you?
Not that I can
I have
recall.
an objection as to the form of the question.
Sustained. Let's rephrase it.
You never had any conversations with Dr. Sparta about the children?
I called him a few times to meet with him and talk with him, but I don't remember that. I never met him. I never saw him. And we may have had a conversation on the phone that I initiated because I wanted to talk to him, but I don't remember that he recommended those sorts of things to me.
Isn't it true that Dr. Sparta specifically called you?
Disney Mom, I would have loved an old wet washcloth or a do-rag like Betty has to wipe her face. When I was a kid and my mom saw dirt on my face, what I got to clean it with was, come here. Hi, Mom.
Because he wanted to get your input, he wanted to get your help with doing something for these kids, and you refused.
I don't remember that, no, because it was my feeling that I wanted to get involved with Dan and with the children in therapy, always.
Do you recall Dr. Jacobson trying to get you and Dan involved with therapy with the kids and you refusing?
Dr. Jacobson definitely tried to get Dan involved in therapy years before, and Dan would not come in.
I'm talking about in 1985.
No, I wouldn't have refused that. I mean, I don't remember that he recommended that. I don't remember that he ever called Dan. I don't remember that ever happening.
And you're saying that you don't remember Dr. Sparta ever calling you and trying to get you involved, and all you wanted to do with Dr. Sparta was tell him how awful you thought Dan Broderick was.
I don't remember him ever offering me to come speak to him. I wanted to come speak to him, but I was very wary of Dan's expert witnesses being hired for the adversarial legal system and not for straight out innocuous therapy.
And that's what you're saying he did with Dr. Sparta when he hired Dr. Sparta before the divorce? And he
Yes.
was hiring him to be an adverse witness?
Yes, because he was referred to Dr. Sparta by his divorce attorney, and that's the way divorce attorneys work.
To
Yes.
get help for the kids?
No.
Okay, well, if you never talked to Dr. Sparta, how do you know what he was hired for and what he was trying to do on behalf of your children?
Because I've been in the system long enough to know how it works now, that lawyers have particular psychologists and experts that they hire when they want that expert to say a certain thing. Dan had sole custody.
Good luck,
of the kids. He wanted
Kelly.
to keep sole custody.
We're
of the
almost
kids.
done here too.
Dr. Sparta was hired to make sure that happened.
In 1985, Dan had sole custody of the kids because you had given him custody of the kids. He had taken the kids to Dr. Sparta to get help.
I never gave Dan sole custody of the children. I put the children, as we've testified, back at Coral Reef when Dan took the rental roof away from us and told us we'd have no home. The children went back to Coral Reef. Then he sent them away for the summer. And then when they came back from the summer is when the real trouble started, where he had restraining orders to keep me away from the kids in the house. I never gave Dan custody of the children, but I didn't have a house or monthly income to take them with me, ever.
I've just decided, so we'll start the stream 5 minutes back because that was some pretty good stuff, and I think it's a good way to start the stream tomorrow. I'm going to let this play out at least a couple more minutes or until the very next natural pause.
And after what Dan did in February of '85, cutting us off without a house or any income, I didn't think he wouldn't do it again. I thought he would do it again.
It wasn't until September, October, November of '86, after living through this of 18 months worth of the vandalism, of the obscene phone calls, of attempting to get a restraining order, of attempting to get you served with a contempt because you weren't following the restraining order. It was at that point that he withheld some money from the voluntary support, correct?
Where are you?
September, October, November of
86.
1986.
There was no vandalism ever in the Cypress house, except for the day that he sold the house and I bumped the car into his front door. There was never any
I bumped the
claims of
car.
vandalism there again.
I just kind of poked him with the bat. I bumped the car into his front door. Beep. Oops. Sorry, gas instead of brake, honey.
Was it September, October, and November of 1986 when he finally withheld some money from your voluntary support?
I know he did it during those months, but I don't think it was the first time.
And you've talked about this letter that he sent you that was that had a balance of minus $1,300, correct?
Yes, and the month before was 400 or something, and
May I have marked, Your Honor, as People's Exhibit
78.
All right. That's not a bad screen to be on. I'll just pause it there. He's introducing evidence. That's actually a pretty cool screen. I should put myself on that screen. But that's not the screen I need to be on. It is this one. There we go. All right. It's been a good day. It's been a good day to have a good day. We're halfway through today's stream. We have the other half tomorrow. Got into some emotional testimony. I managed to testify a little bit at the beginning here. If you missed it, it gets a little personal, but, I think it was good to talk about. So thank you for joining me. We'll get back to more Betty testimony tomorrow. She's the rest of the hour and a half. There's no more breaks. It looks like it's all cross. So if there's any rebuttal testimony from her lawyer, that will be coming up on Wednesday morning. It's Monday today, right? Yeah, Wednesday morning. I have a tentative schedule for this entire broadcast, and that puts us at May 2nd for the verdict and sentencing. Yeah, the May 1st is going to be a 5 to 6 hour stream for the closing arguments, the jury instructions, and the verdict. For whatever reason, the video says verdict and sentencing for the Saturday video. So maybe it's just that they replay the verdict again just before the sentencing in the video. And if that's the case, we can save a little time. I'll try and queue up some parole videos or some bonus content, and we'll just keep that Saturday stream going as long as people are interested in participating in it, because that'll be the last one for the marathon. And if people want to stay and chat, we could go a little long on that one. Then I'll take a break and do my regular Friday night rambles starting May 8th. We'll do a Friday morning coffee and then an evening ramble. Probably get some Sarah content in there just to keep the fires going. I'll just say my goodbyes to the chat as well. I see it's been very active today. There's still 29 people here. Thank you for staying through the goodbyes. We got an introduction to Mum of Lola's here in the chat. She's been lurking. She's been keeping an eye on you. She was worried that people were getting out of sorts in the comments, but I told her, no, everyone is in sorts. We're just having healthy arguments. We're just enjoying each other's company. So say hi to Mama Lola, because Mum of Lola is Mum of Dan D. And now she's going to be letting you guys know what's what and how many if anybody gets out of line in the chat. Charles Grieve, Kitten Pusher, Bernice Conklin. Bernice is back from feeding the squirrels. Not My Lover. I haven't seen you without Billie Jean in quite some time. Take some detective skills to figure out who Not My Lover is, but if you've got them, you'll know. Addie is Me wants a puppy kiss given by me. Oh, puppy's downstairs, so I'll have to log off before I do that, but I think that's a little deal I can keep for Audrina. Trying to do pronunciations. I'm pretty good about it when it's sometimes. Other times, not so much. Dabs for Dummies. Cheers. Happy 420. Happy 420 to anyone that partakes. Get your medical cigarettes ready for tomorrow's show, 9:30. You guys feeling fine? You're fine. I'm Dan D. This end of the live stream.